Full house here today. We're just kind of hanging out.
Packed barn.
It is. Hello, welcome to the Sports Bar. It's Battaglia with you. That is Terrible Take Timmy. Derek the Pizza Dude helping us out here. He's off mic. Dandalorian somewhere around. Well, the one guy who's absent and will actually be joining us a little bit. Welcome. Pull up a stool. Sometimes we have shows that are light on guests. Today is not one of them. If I'm counting you, Tim, that would be 6 guests today.
I saw the tweet and I lost count. I had to count twice to make sure that that's most that I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, so here's the rundown today. And if you'd like to jump in, may I suggest now, 866-4FAN, 866-4326, Rochester's longest-running sports talk show, the only one here in the afternoon that's live with you. Today, we'll be talking to Michael Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, as they've been off since Friday, and they get a game winner with 14 seconds remaining on Black Friday. Now you get back to work here, and Utica comes in. This is a team you'd like to get the 2 points against before you head to Charlotte. Charlotte being the defending champs of the Eastern Conference. We will talk to the head coach of the Amerks coming up at 4:25. Also in the 4 o'clock hour today, Michael F. Florio from the NFL Network. He's also Bills Mafia, co-host with Stevie Johnson on the Bills The Sick podcast. But Michael F. Florio will be dishing out his fantasy advice, and hopefully you're still alive. But even if you're not, you should do the right thing and still compete to the end here. Michael F. Florio will be joining us here at the end of the 4 o'clock hour. End of the show today, Matt Thomas, the RT men's hockey team, they're back in action. So when we last saw the Tigers, they were riding high. Then they go out on the road, overtime loss to Niagara, lost to Bentley, and then 2 losses in Ireland. So they're not playing bad. It's just hockey. That's how it goes. Team back home, front end of home on home with Canisius. We'll talk to Matt Thomas coming up at 5:45. And the bottom of this hour, Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, and the Shout podcast put a bow on the Pittsburgh win, looking ahead here to some other things that will be happening as we get ready for the Bengals. Matt Perino with the latest from One Bills Drive. Matt is always gracious with his time. Oh, we do have another guest. He's actually the co-host of the show. Mike Danger will be calling in from Virginia. Is he still alive and he'll survive in advance? I know which way he's going. I don't want to ruin it for everybody else here. So we'll let Danger give his pick. He'll be phoning in at 4 o'clock. So the table is set. And before we get to talking about the Patriots and other things around the NFL, I just want to confirm one thing. The problem we had in this part of our building last year has reoccurred.
It's back.
It's back.
Did it ever leave? Now I'm wondering.
Right. Yeah, maybe this happened over the summer and we just didn't realize it. If you were with us around holiday time as we're making the push into the Bills playoffs, it became kind of a joke here at first. Like, wait a second, there's no heat in here. It's cold. What's going on? And then it got we got a cold spell. And then I'm seeing my breath here in the studio. Like, this is wrong. Do we call the city of Rochester? You can do that basically if you are, somebody that is living in an apartment, as I once did, and your landlord refuses to provide you heat. You can get them fined. There are laws for that. We didn't do that. We tried to take the diplomatic route, and it took a while. Maybe some public shaming is in order here, but we noticed this yesterday, and corporate said somebody came in and the problem was fixed. And the problem's not fixed, Tim.
It is colder today than it was yesterday, and if they claim to have fixed it yesterday, it needs to be fixed again already. I will be bringing a sleeping bag and a blanket tomorrow for the Amerks game.
You're in here right after dark. It's not ideal. It cracks me up. What is the commercial? One of the fine sponsors, like, heat. Your neighbors have the comfort and you can too. Like, wow. Yeah, that's a basic need when you're working.
My hands are frozen. I should have brought gloves. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I am uncomfortably cold already, and we've only just begun.
So right now we're at the just laughing, and we get to next week, we'll be bitching, and then we get to before Christmas, we're going to be in a really angry mood.
Yeah, we're laughing because it's funny because we've done this before. 10 days from now, it will no longer be funny. It will be very cold, and we will be miserable. So buckle up.
That's it.
Please fix this heat.
Yeah. How long does this take? And by the way, the guys, the new landlords, they're actually upstairs. So if I see them, be like, hey, buddy, come over here.
Need a space heater,
Yeah.
sleeping bag, pillow fort.
And so maybe we should just do an outside broadcast at this point. It's like
On the roof in a blizzard.
yeah,
Can't be worse.
Something like that. Again, loaded show here today. Made it a point to watch as much as I could before, like, okay, I finally punted on it in the fourth quarter last night. Patriots and Giants. And my takeaway is this. This is the time of year where if you're a good team, and the Patriots are a good team, you take care of business. And if you're a bad team, you just hand things away and you lose. Because that game, Patriots race out to a 17-0 lead. Slayton scores the touchdown. Giants get the ball back, and they're driving. And I'm like, well, I get the field goal here. It makes it, one-score game. And then, the blooper, you remember those old NFL bloopers?
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Young Hoku is that going to be our lasting image? Will he be cut by the Giants?
I think he will be. He's been cut a bunch of times already this season, elevated from the practice squad and all that. Started the season with Atlanta. After that, it doesn't even go in as a miss because he never connected with the ball.
Isn't that weird? Yeah.
It is the greatest fake field goal attempt of all time that nobody knew about.
It goes as a sack officially. Now, the snap, and I can see where trying to give Koo the benefit of the doubt, but the snap gets down, but the ball clearly is tilted. So even if he gets the kickoff, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's not making it. He's probably slamming it into the backside of one of his linemen or sending it wayward east or west.
Yeah, so so I could see where he'd be like, "Oh, this isn't right," but then just
he bailed out on it and apparently didn't alert the holder like, I can't do this. Go, make something happen.
Yeah.
Because he stood there for a full second holding the ball after Koo had bailed out and then just gets barreled.
But you're watching this, and I couldn't process it. I'm like, what just happened there? That's not a block. I couldn't figure it out, like whether the snap not go down. But you're confused because the holder's calm. Usually when the snap isn't down, you see, things get frantic. But, after that, it's like, okay.
We know how this ends.
Yeah,
it is over right here.
Done this. So speaking and over and done with, Bills beat the Bengals, but they go to New England the following week, and if the Patriots win that game, they win the AFC East. So you will believe that is going to be kind of a raucous atmosphere. Bills and Patriots coming up on the 14th for a 1 o'clock game, which I thought maybe would get flexed, and I think we're beyond that window now, Tim, where you would have to know this today. But then you're thinking about it, would the NFL actually allow the Patriots to be home? Would you want to do that to your fans on Monday Night Football twice in 3 weeks, or for that matter, back-to-back home games? And again, my campaign, Patriots get the bye this week. How advantageous is that? They get 2 weeks to prepare for Buffalo coming up. One kind of sort of Bills note, Elijah Moore has a new job. He lands on the practice squad of the Denver Broncos, where, okay, good for him. He had one catch in his tenure with the Bills that I can remember, failed end around. I don't think that what you saw was actually kind of worth it for the Bills at that point. Maybe it was one of those deals where the Bills are trying to sneak him back onto their, onto their own practice squad, and Moore was now not having it. But maybe that's something we should kind of remember, like the narrative that, he's never really had a good quarterback. Look what we had with the Jets, and look what we had with the Browns. Get him a good quarterback, and maybe he could, I don't know, the Jets caught you when you were a second-round pick. And it was just clear, like, this really wasn't going to work out. And if the Bills had other options, they would have made that move sooner.
Yeah, he and Amari Cooper both came from Cleveland, and neither really have much to show from their Buffalo stay. But Elijah Moore, I think I'm more surprised by. Cooper was a midseason trade last year, and it kind of just fizzled out. Moore came in, I thought, with some expectations, like, oh, this is going to help the receiving core, and he was a complete non-factor.
Cooper had a couple plays. He had the touchdown against the Titans on a post. He caught a touchdown, a diving catch against the Jets. It was just because it was the Jets and it was late in the season. You don't remember that. But he brought that kind of cachet. What did Moore kind of bring? He was
Absolutely
just a guy.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
I've been surprised by, because he came in with a full season to prepare, and I thought he'd be a factor in this. Maybe help Keon Coleman, help the rest of that room develop more, give Josh Allen another weapon, and he became inactive for most of his tenure here. So it's a bummer it didn't work out, but they've moved on from it, and they've got Gabe Davis back, and that seems to be going all right enough.
Gabe Davis, to me, is he's 3 or 4 at this point. I just found it kind of noteworthy that, okay, Allen throws the interception, and those are one of those plays. Are you really sure who's to blame? It's easy to blame Allen on that, but did Davis not square off his route properly?
Yeah, watching that in real time, I thought it was just a timing play gone wrong because Allen put that right into the breadbasket of the Steelers defender.
Yeah.
That could have been because of poor route running from Gabe Davis.
But it could just been Allen just making a bad decision. I don't know. It's one of those. You got to be careful when you assess blame when it comes to interceptions sometimes. Unless you're Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is going to tell you right away, I was given the signal, and everybody's got to go and he was given the signal.
I threw the ball 88 yards up into the air expecting this guy to catch it. We were playing 500. He didn't. It's his fault.
It is Aaron Rodgers' birthday, by the way. I thought that was hilarious.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, the Steelers actually tweeting that out. Yeah, I don't know. That's such a good idea today. You don't really need to do that after a loss. But regardless, Bills and Bengals. And I'd ask you this question, Tim, or anybody that wants to weigh in at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. If the Bills take care of their business, and even if they beat New England, it's a tall order for the Patriots. Maybe they lose to Baltimore, but they're not losing to the Jets. They're not losing to Miami. Congratulations to New England. They win the division.
That's how it felt yesterday going into Monday Night Football. Like the records were mirror images, and they still are. That was the only path Buffalo had. Like the Patriots find a way to scramble a loss against the Giants, and then this division is right back in Buffalo's hands.
And the Bills are not running the table, by the way, because you get the Eagles coming in. Maybe they lose to the Patriots. Maybe the Bengals give the Bills a game. And this line, Tim, at 5.5, it's like, yeah, that looks for a 4-8 team. You would think Buffalo would be more of a favorite. 52.5, the over/under, so that went up slightly. But my question is this, Tim, and I pose this to you or anybody else at 866-4FAN, 866-4326, and I think it's very obvious, right? All right, let's say the Bills win games. They don't have to win out, but they win enough to be the 5 seed. Okay, this is a different path. You're a wild card, but you're the best of the wild cards, right? Well, as the best of the wild cards, you take on the 4 seed, and the 4 seed is the worst of the divisional winners. And clearly, that is going to be whoever comes out of the AFC North. Kind of a pile of poo right now. I mean, like
it's so bad the Browns are not eliminated yet.
That's noteworthy. If you had to pick a team out of those 3, like what's the marry or kill or do something else I can't say on the word. Mm-hmm. Like if you had to do that version here of, okay, between the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Bengals, you get to pick one choice that say, okay, this is the team I would want to play on the road. And if you had to say of those 3, no, this is the team I do not want to face under any circumstances on the road in the postseason, how would you lay that out? Which of the teams? And I think the answer is obvious.
I am fornicating Pittsburgh. I am
Thank you.
Marrying Baltimore, marrying Cincinnati, and I'm killing Baltimore. I want nothing to do with Baltimore in the playoffs on the road after what happened to begin this season.
Okay, so you and I are flipped when it comes to the F word, right? We agree on that. Like, okay, give me Pittsburgh, yeah. You have an opportunity to kill Cincinnati right here. Can you imagine the Bengals all of a sudden getting this head of steam in this division and that quarterback, and there's the mojo and the vibe, and all of a sudden they somehow learn how to play defense. I don't want any part of Cincinnati. I don't really want any part of Baltimore either. That's why, as bad as Pittsburgh was, they're not dead yet either. But you have an opportunity to say, you know what, Joe? Sorry, you got to be healthy. You just can't show up in the month of December and expect it all to work out. You almost pulled it off last year, and this year it's not your fault getting turf toe, certainly. But no, we're going to put an end to this. The Bills need to give Cincinnati loss number 9, put an end to this.
I think my answer might change should they lose this week to Cincinnati, but also the entire scope of the playoff seeding changes if they lose to the Bengals this week. We're no longer thinking 5 guaranteed be the best wildcard team. We're then again talking, all right, now we got to just scramble just to make sure that we're the 7 or the 6 or the 5.
All right, well,
But if they lose to Cincinnati this week, that changes the entire outlook of everything.
That's true, too. And there is a scenario, too, that some have pointed out. Bills can beat the Bengals. Bengals aren't done because they have this schedule. They're playing everybody. And even with 9 losses, you could, in theory, have an 8-9 team win that division, which that would just be gross. But this happens, periodically. Again, it's not who you play, but when you play them. And that's why this game, very interesting to me. If it were Joe Flacco, we'd be looking at the Bills as a 10-point favorite. They're not. They're playing Joe Burrow. And maybe Higgins comes back. Trey Hendrickson doesn't look likely. The Bills should be able to take care of their own business. This is, you've been on the road here. You have only the one home loss, and that was to New England. Of all these teams in the NFL, which team gets a boost at home? Make an argument that there's a team that deserves that gets a bigger boost when playing at home other than Buffalo. Like the Bills, to me, they're certainly a good team, but when they play at home and they're beating Baltimore and they're beating Kansas City, didn't lose a game last year at home.
I think Seattle might be an argument worth making, but other than that, I've got absolutely nothing. Buffalo's home field advantage is
Seattle,
crazy.
Narrative on Seattle, Tim, they were winning road games. Like if you put that Bills-Houston game up in Buffalo, Bills probably win.
I would agree with that. They cannot beat Houston in Houston for whatever reason.
The Miami game was the same game. The difference was, hey, we're home. Oh, you woke up there in the fourth quarter and Tua made a mistake. Okay, that was kind of the same game plan Miami had down there, and you ended up losing.
Could we argue Denver? They're actually just like maybe the luckiest team in the NFL. If you look at how they've won their games, they're the 1 seed in the AFC, I think, right now. Or I'm sorry, the 2. The Patriots are, but those games are always one possession, last second, overtime. Yeah. Like they're winning, and maybe that does prove the point. Like if those are on the road, they're losing them. But are they actually good?
Well, that's an interesting topic too, because if we had to say which team in the AFC of the teams we think are going to make the playoffs are fraudulent, let's kind of put nobody's propping up the AFC North winner. I'm sorry,
but that's what happens. They're going to win a game somehow.
No, but right. But if you had to say which team is quote unquote fraudulent, I know Bills fans want to say New England. Look at that schedule. Ha ha ha.
The Bills schedule is the same one.
Almost, but I look at the Patriots and they're just thumping teams. They don't need a failed 2-point conversion against the lowly Commanders and Marcus Mariota. Okay, you won the game on the road. Yay, good for you. I look at Denver, and I know this is gonna upset at least one listener, Brian, who loves my Broncos. I look at Denver as being the fraudulent team because I don't think Bo Nix is all that.
I think he's fine, but I don't think the team. The defense is incredible. Bo Nix is all right, but to be at 10-2 is probably 2 or 3 wins too high. They're a playoff team. I don't think there's any disputing that based on how the rest of the AFC looks this year. But 10-2, and the way that they've done it, it could very easily be 8-4 or 7-5.
See, like if I just did the exercise of, okay, if you want to feel good about the Bills being a wild card team, let's just do it. Just look at the quarterbacks head to head: Josh Allen or Daniel Jones.
Okay.
Josh Allen or C.J. Stroud.
Okay.
Josh Allen or Justin Herbert.
Broken hand Justin Herbert or regular hand Justin Herbert? No, the answer is the same.
No. The broken hand, like Josh Allen, you would take over Justin Herbert.
Yes.
Because Justin Herbert, what has he done in the playoffs? Josh Allen or Bo Nix? Oh, come on. It's Josh Allen. The question is Josh Allen or Drake May. Drake May, his numbers, Tim, he's getting MVP run.
My answer is Josh Allen, but Drake May statistically, I think that Drake May is having the best season in the NFL right now for the quarterback position.
He's going to be the, don't get offended, Patriot fan, he's the de facto MVP.
And that's something that hasn't been taught. The MVP is broken. It became a quarterback exclusive award. Jonathan Taylor should be getting some run. He's not even on the list. Myles Garrett, the Browns stink, but Myles Garrett is probably the NFL's most valuable player. And he's not even close to the list because the team is awful.
Jackson Smith and Jigba is doing great things.
That's where I was
Seattle.
going next.
Yeah, it's
all
like,
these guys are...
all these guys are right, but it's like, why all of a sudden? Well, because we live in a talking head kind of society where it's easier to talk about and evaluate the quarterbacks. That's it.
Well, it's silly and it's stupid, and Jonathan Taylor should be the MVP, just like Barkley last year.
Think Myles Garrett in the Browns.
Defensive Player of the Year, indisputable, which means he should be in the run for MVP, right?
Tim, I am not chalking that up as a W for Buffalo. Just for the record, on December 21st, I think it's going to be one of those. Oh my gosh, it's going to be like the Steeler game. Like, wait a second, this is 7-3 at the half. What the heck is happening?
I've been I've been attempting to convince my father to make that trip down, just because we usually go to a game a year, and we haven't gone yet this year, and that would be fun as Browns fans to see. And I think that the Bills win, but I always think that the Browns are going to lose. If they were to beat the Bills, that would make my dad's entire year. So that would be fun to see in person. But it was also we're risking sitting in 14-degree weather and losing 42 to nothing. So
what do you? Yeah,
the only thing, Myles Garrett breaking the sack record on Josh Allen, and we're there to see it. I don't know. Maybe that's a good selling point.
That's going to be Sunday leading into holiday week. 75% Bills fans in attendance.
Yeah, because the Bills ticket prices are a quarter of what the Bills ticket prices are, and it's a 2.5 hour 2.5 hour drive from Cleveland.
Yeah,
or from Buffalo.
About that.
So yeah, that's going to be it's going to be a Bills home game, and it might be more fun for Bills fans on the road there because of how much more affordable it is.
We will talk to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard Shout podcast. We invite your feedback. The Fan Rochester is our handle. You can leave us a comment on our YouTube page. We're also streaming on Twitch. 4 o'clock, Mike Danger will be joining us by telephone. My name is Gene Battaglia with Tim Schneider here on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Rochester Sports Update.
Bills are off today. A walkthrough scheduled for tomorrow. Looking ahead here to the Bengals. Steve Taster optimistic today on One Bills Live about the Bills' health.
You would like to think the Bills are going to be significantly healthier coming into this game on Sunday. It's only Tuesday, and we don't know how these guys are going to go. Kincaid, Brown, Knox, Palmer, and Dawkins would help. Palmer is going to help. There's 4 guys on offense that would really help your passing game anyway.
Former Bill Elijah Moore signing with Denver's practice squad today. We'll talk some Bills football coming up next. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, and the Shout podcast to join us. Syracuse basketball tonight, taking on another ranked team, number 17 Tennessee at the Dome. The Amerks back home tomorrow night against Utica. Head coach Michael Leone will join us next hour. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Against this defense, every week there's guys open. Now, more often than not, they've hit them. And so outbreakers, just throw outbreakers versus this defense. Throw outbreakers versus this defense, and you don't give the ball away. They're not talented enough to stop a good offense.
It's Dan Orlovsky breaking it down there about the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, they were on a historic clip, and we'll talk to Anthony Cosenza from the Cincy Jungle. Really covers the team well. Because I don't know if the Bengals under Al Golden actually turned a corner, or if, it was the Ravens not showing up on a short week on Thanksgiving night. Just seemed to me, and reading Ravens Twitter there a little bit, Tim, like, why weren't they using Derrick Henry more? Why weren't they? And if there's one team where, hey, if you don't like Joe Brady, you don't like Sean McDermott, no. Compare it to what is going on in Baltimore.
Watching that game on Thursday night was really interesting because all it did was teach me that every coaching staff has everything in front of them to make the right decision, and they almost never make the right call. Like, it's fan base to fan base. The coaching staff, the decision making, the play calling, all of it. Like, you've got a 2-time MVP.
We welcome in Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard Shout podcast to the show here, Matt. Appreciate your time. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I'm going to talk to you since your trip down to Florida. And I guess let's just kind of start here. Putting a bow on the Steeler game, and here's what I'm having trouble kind of balancing out. You love to see what the Bills did, right? Who wouldn't want their team to win a game? And that's exactly what Sean McDermott would want. But then how do you balance that, Matt, against what we think is a broken Steeler team, a team that, that didn't look very good on their end. How are you today?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, Eric. So was that more about the Steelers or more about the Bills?
I was thinking about you.
Uh-oh. We lost Matt.
Let's try that again.
We'll try that again. As, Tim, you were finishing up your point there. I always cut you off, buddy.
That's okay. I deserve it. Lamar Jackson's a 2-time MVP. Derrick Henry is a superstar running back, and all they did was try to make something happen doing the opposite. They did not play the way that the Ravens win football games. It allowed Cincinnati to come in there and basically dominate, and I thought Cincinnati was going to win, or I thought Baltimore was going to win by 3 or 4 scores, and they came out completely flat, and there wasn't a whole lot to show for it. And now Baltimore is reeling, and Cincinnati is not. It doesn't necessarily bode well for the Bills.
Let's try this again. False start, sports bar. Matt Perino joining us here once again. Matt, the question, thanks for the time. Question being, was that more about the Bills or about the Steelers? For the Bills, that's a way you would love to win a game, but we look at the Steelers, we're like, boy, that team's kind of a mess right now.
I mean, I don't know. It's like a hard thing to figure out, right? Because we could sit here and say it was more about the Steelers being terrible, but then you got a New England Patriots team that's won 10 games in a row, and outside of their game against the Bills has played a bunch of stiffs, right? So, like, I don't know. I think that the Patriots are a really good team. I think that they found a quarterback. I think that they're going to be probably a presence in this division now moving forward. They got a good head coach. Do I believe they're this juggernaut that they've they've kind of looked to be the last 10 games? No, I think it's, we're going to turn the calendar to December, and it's probably going to look a little bit different. I mean, don't forget that 5 turnover game that Drake May had a couple of months ago. And I know you're asking about the Bills, but I just think that's a great example to use when trying to figure out who these teams are. You got to use the context to it. The Bills had, I don't know how many games it is. I think it's 5 or 6, maybe 7, where they've gone on the road since 2000 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they'd only won one previous time, and that was with Duck Hodges in the quarterback. What the Bills did to a Steelers team that doesn't get pushed around like that in their house. I mean, they had people were booing Renegade. People were screaming fire Tomlin. I mean, if you want to talk about a dominant performance, and I know it wasn't like that for 60 minutes, but it was so dominant in that second half on both sides of the ball that I think that, to me, that signifies a potential jumping off point for this team that's been starving for this kind of game, right? All the wins that you can go back and look at, they've had a lot of things go right, but there's been some things that have gone wrong in those games too, outside of maybe the Chiefs. I mean, the Bucs game, at times it looked difficult. I remember Josh Allen finished with 6 touchdowns, and people were saying that there was times people were saying he wasn't even playing well in that game. The passing game didn't look very efficient. So is the passing game where it needs to be? No, but I think at 8-4, you're set up to get into the playoffs very likely. I think the Bills have something like a 70 or 75% chance to make the playoffs. And then it's about winning when you get there. And I think the teams that are going to have home field advantage aren't teams that you're necessarily afraid to go on the road to play, which I think is it's very much a departure from years past when the Bills have had to go on the road against the Baltimores and the Kansas Cities of the world. And those are tough places to play with elite quarterbacks. And maybe that ends up being New England, right? Like maybe they step up. Maybe what we've seen from the last 10 weeks is what we're going to see the rest of the way. I just won't believe that till we see it.
Matt, I subscribe to the theory that you get Josh Allen, fired him up, get him some hits. And I understand the risk, and it's the age-old question. You don't want your quarterback running necessarily, but to me, that game flipped when there's a late hit call and he's fired up, his teammates aren't fired up. I don't know. Maybe you can give some insight as to what Cam Hayward was talking about, but getting Josh Allen to run his mouth and getting that offensive line to kind of get fired up there. I want to see more of Josh Allen in the running game and get that offense fired up.
Yeah, I feel like Christian Wilkins kind of wrote the book on what not to do when facing Josh Allen, and getting them all riled up historically ends poorly for the other team. And, I don't think Cam Hayward probably went into that exchange thinking about it that way. Like, you're out there playing and competing, and it kind of comes natural to you to have those kinds of exchanges when, I'm sure Josh Allen, he wasn't ranked as a top trash talker in the league for nothing. So I'm sure he was out there saying some things as well. But the actual exchange between Hayward and Allen was interesting because, all replays, all angles of it looked like it really was a lot to do about nothing. And I think it was just more about, you take what TJ Watt said after that game and how it felt that defense was pretty embarrassed by the fact that the Bills were able to do whatever they wanted to do on the ground. Allen got going in the second half, had that big-time touchdown on 4th down, screamed in Cam Hayward's face as he was calling him some not very nice words. And I think you're right. I think getting Allen in a place where either it's from a physical perspective or a talking perspective, isn't it amazing to look back over the course of Allen's career and how it started with that first training camp and Jalen Ramsey calling him trash and him going 7-0 lifetime against Jalen Ramsey. And I almost feel like that's the stat I would put up on the board if I'm a team coming in to play against the Bills or hosting them. Was like, don't say anything to Josh Allen. Just go out there and beat him and don't say anything to him while you're doing it.
Yeah, that Matt, who was in Pittsburgh, experienced that that atmosphere. Tim and I were talking before you came on, Matt, because if we're looking at this path right now in the AFC, and it's all right, the Patriots, they've got a firm grip on the division, right? They'd have to do something dumb here. Let's assume the Bills are a wild card. If the Bills end up with the 5, who would you most want to play out of the North, and who would you least want to play?
I'd most want to play the Steelers, and I'd probably least want to play the Ravens-ish Bengals. Well, we'll see what the Bengals look like this weekend. I know they're pretty much almost mathematically eliminated. I think that they lose one more game or something along those lines. So it's very unlikely that they get into the playoffs. But, this has been a team that's been a little bit of an issue for the Bills the last couple of seasons. Not so much the last 2 years, but before that, like the Stephon Diggs era, this was a team that I almost felt like the Bills didn't want to play just as much as they didn't want to play the Chiefs. So we'll see. This is a very important game on Sunday. I mean, the Bills, I know it's very unlikely that they win the AFC East at this point, but if they want a chance, they got to win out most likely. And, this is a tough one. The Pats on the road, home against the Eagles. I mean, there's still some really tough games. And I know nobody thought this Bengals game was going to be tough after Burrow went out. Even getting him back, you probably thought, the defense was so bad. But the defense looked so good against Baltimore on Thanksgiving. So they get 10 days to prepare for a Bills team on the road. I think that Joe Burrow probably comes in here and tests this Bills passing defense, which has been really good. I think, McDermott and Babbage, however you want to parse that up, they really deserve a lot of credit for the way that they've adjusted a couple of times this season. I mean, the defenses looked bad at different stages. And, Michael Hoyt comes back, plays with Oliver for a game and a half, and it looks like they're world beaters. And those two guys go out, and it looks really bad. They haven't been able to stop the run. And all the while, the pass defense has been pretty good, and they're coming off a game where I think they were the best against the run that they have all season on the road in Pittsburgh. So they've done a really good job. It feels like they found an answer with Shaq Thompson at middle linebacker, which could make it a little awkward when Terrell Bernard gets back from his injury. But I think it doesn't have to be. I think this gives you the opportunity to tell Terrell Bernard, hey, you take a couple of weeks here. Maybe you can get back in a week or two, but why don't you take 3-4 weeks, get as close to 100% as possible, and then see where you are. Because for as good as Shaq Thompson has looked when he's on the field this season, he's gotten hurt twice when it felt like he was kind of getting into a rhythm and maybe poised for a larger role. He's gotten banged up and has missed multiple weeks. So I don't necessarily know that you can count on Shaq Thompson to be available for a real run of games. He struggled to do that at his age. I mean, he's a pretty old player. So I think it's a good problem to have, and they definitely look like the best defense this has looked this last week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. 10 points since halftime of that Texans game, and that one touchdown was a short field. We're talking to Matt Perino, Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post-Standard, and sometimes the way the news cycle works, Matt, is hey, the big topic there earlier, late, November, hey, Keon Coleman, now we're on to the next thing. But this may come into focus once again pending Josh Palmer's health. If Palmer is good to return, who's the odd guy out in the wide receiving core now?
That's a great question. It's going to be, I think, about how quickly Brandon Cooks gets up to speed on things because, if we saw last year, I know Josh Allen said that Cooks knows the entire playbook. I'm sure he has a really good grasp of it, but I'd be hard-pressed to think that he's learned the entire playbook in 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks. That could be a play where, like, you got a Bengals team coming up. I know Cooks is kind of a speedy receiver, somebody that could probably win on the outside, but it feels like Tyrell Shavers, Khalil Shakir, they're pretty locked in. Palmer, they're paying him a lot of money. He's somebody that I also think they want to find a way to get him on the field. And then Gabe Davis is the guy that knows Josh Allen the best outside of Shakir. So it's going to be a tough decision to make. I think that they've got some momentum here with positive momentum with Keon Coleman. And I think you want to try to lean into that because this is a guy that they spent a draft pick on that I don't think is a player that can't go out there and make plays for you. Has it been great all the time? No. Has he had consistency as a player to this point in his career? No. But I think you got to continue to search for that. And that was a confidence-building moment. The last 2 games he's played, been on a field, he's had touchdowns in. And that's something that, for all the critiques that we can have for Keon, there's definitely critiques worth having. I mean, Steve Smith dedicated a whole 20-minute podcast to it. He has found a way to make plays at times, and you need all your playmakers on the field. So it's a tough decision. If you can't get all of them active, all 6 wide receivers, somebody's going to have to be the odd man out. And to me, more than anything, the guy that you can't take off the field right now is Tyrell Shavers, because whether it be in the run game, a run-heavy approach like they took against Pittsburgh, he was arguably the Bills' best blocker on the perimeter, or reverse the clock a couple of weeks when he went for 90 and a touchdown in the best the passing game has looked in recent weeks. So it's going to be a tough decision. Again, you have a lot of mouths to feed. Maybe you also slow play Palmer's return because you want that ankle injury, something that he's been nursing for a while, to be as close to 100% for this stretch run as you can get it.
Yeah, that's ultimately it. And I think Shavers, maybe they knew, because when Matt Collins left for not a lot of money to New England, like, well, that guy was leading the team in touchdowns. Well, they maybe knew that they had a good blocker in Shavers. Ask about another wide receiver that came on the market. Yes or no, or maybe. Adam Thielen, you into it?
I'm not. He's an older player. I think there's probably some juice left, but I think it's – I don't always subscribe to like the redundancy and skill sets being a huge problem, like get good receivers and figure it out on the other side. But I just think that like he is just another flavor of something that they have a lot of in that wide receiver room. And you're not going to take Khalil Shakir. Now, if Khalil Shakir was injured and projected to miss a lot of time, sure, like throw Thielen into the mix, and he's a playmaker even at his age. But I just think with what they have right now, it doesn't really factor in. I don't see how he's getting a jersey on game day when you're already going to be struggling to find a way to get everybody on the field.
I don't know if there's a better solution out there, but are we now kind of monitoring the kicker, Matt Prater? Fun story at the beginning, reliable, but now that's 3 missed extra points, and you could say that the one was really costly in the Houston game. That not so much in Pittsburgh, but it is noteworthy. So your thoughts on Prater, knowing that now Tyler Bass is not going to come back?
Yeah, I think the Prater thing is something. We talked about it on the podcast after, it's not just the missed kicks. Like, this is a special teams group that, to me, outside of a couple of splash plays, has been a little bit underwhelming at times this season. The penalties are eye-opening. And you talk about a team, like one of the best games of the season was when the return game was going, when McCole Hardman, gave it some juice. Ray Davis had a couple nice returns. But they didn't have any penalties in that game. When you have a drive start at the 35-yard line and a holding penalty brings you back to the 15, it is an absolute killer when you're trying to get this offense going, when you're trying to get this pass game going, and you make it harder on the offense to have to go more yardage just to get into field goal range. So that's something they got to figure out. The Prater thing, listen, if it continues to be an issue, like, you're probably going to have to get some kickers in here at some point. Don't forget, he was a guy available on the street during training camp when Tyler Bass, this injury started with him. So maybe you have to go down that road again and try to find somebody, Wisnowski, or however you say his last name. I should be better about pronouncing it. He's been awesome, the punter. Like, they bring him in as like the 4th punter since last season ended. I mean, you think about, they started with Camarda, then they went to Brad Robbins for a little bit, and then they had Cameron Johnston, and they land on Wisnowski, and he's been absolutely outstanding. So you can go and get somebody if it doesn't work with Prater, but I feel like the microscope needs to be out on him. If he misses another extra point this week and it's a close game and it impacts the game, you might have to make a change.
Yes or no, Matt? You've been in victorious locker rooms, both at home and on the road. You were there in Pittsburgh. What was the vibe? Describe that, because I'm just imagining. Does it mean more to the team? Could you sense that after you win a game in that fashion?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely feel, I don't want to say a sense of relief, but you could feel a sense of, all right, this is still who we are, right? Like, because when you go on the road against a Texans team that you were supposed to be, you were the betting favorite, and you get beat up the way that the Bills got beat up. I mean, that's a hit to the psyche. And to be able to recover and then do the opposite to the team the next week when you go into their house, I think that says a lot about the room. I think it has a chance to bring them together, and the fact of how they did it. Like, I don't think the Steelers are some great run defense, but they're not a bad one. And the fact that they had no answers for something the Bills were doing so simplistically in the way that they ran the same play in different variations over and over again, that was a statement made. And for a team searching for its passing game to be able to be that dominant in the run game and not even need it, I think says something. Do they have work to do on the passing side? Of course. Like, they gotta unlock this thing. They gotta give their pass catchers an ability to make an impact in the game, and maybe that's this week against the Bengals team. They could probably score it a bit on the road in Buffalo. We'll see what the weather looks like, but no, it was a locker room filled with juice, with energy, and I think that's also indicative of what we saw play out on the offensive line with Alec Anderson and Ryan Vandermark going in there, providing the kind of spark when everybody had that as a big storyline going into the game. And all those two guys did was, put together a premier performance against what everybody thought should give them a lot of problems. And they were kind of center stage in the locker room after the game. And it was quite a scene.
Looking for more Bills content? May we suggest the Shout podcast with Matt Perino and Ryan Talbot? Matt, tell everybody about the schedule this week and what we can go check out at Syracuse.com as well.
Yeah, thanks. We'll be live here with a episode in a couple hours with Josh Reed and Carl Jones from Channel 4. We do a collaborative show every week. We'll have our staple show tomorrow, and then we'll get you ready for the game on Friday before one of the last home games in Highmark Stadium goes down. It's sneaking up on us now, right, Gino? Only a couple left in the old Highmark, and if the playoff standings hold, it's going to be hard-pressed for the Bills to get a home game in the playoffs.
Well, I'm wondering, is this the last 1 o'clock game? Because there's a different vibe when you're getting up early in the morning and you're driving into the stadium. I don't know where they put that Jets game, but it's starting to get real mad. You're absolutely right, knowing that, okay, chances are not going to be a game past Week 18 here in Buffalo.
Yeah, I think the emotion is going to really start to come out as we get down the home stretch here. I think it's probably already started to happen for a lot of people. But it's exciting, too. I mean, to see that structure across the street, and every day it looks more and more like the finished product. We're definitely trending in that direction. So this one's going to be a big one on Sunday.
Matt, appreciate the time as always. We'll see you at the stadium Sunday. Thanks so much.
All right, buddy. Take care.
See ya. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard Shout podcast, joining us. I think that Keon Coleman thing is interesting. I think what happens with the wide receiver kind of shuffle, and it's probably the same thing with Bernard too. Like, if you had to pick who's the better player if healthy, the answer is Terrell Bernard.
Yes.
It's not he's not healthy. And you saw what it looks like when he isn't healthy. So this will work for now, but when you get to the postseason, will it be different? I think the same thing applies with Josh Palmer. This hasn't been what you expected when you signed him, but he's made some plays. Certainly he's made some plays. And is he better than Gabe Davis? Is he better than Keon Coleman? You know what? Make sure that soft tissue is completely healed. Kincaid's a different story. It's like, or do you keep Kincaid out this week too?
I think if Kincaid is ready to go, you get him in there because he's more versatile, isn't the word, but he's more helpful than like an extra receiver.
Well, the thing is that when he's out there, it's kind of a clue that it's a passing down. I mean, if they used traditional play action, and maybe that's going to be the wrinkle here, that you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end, the 3 tight end, and when that happens, okay, then who's actually going to go out? Play fake. Oh, no, here's going to be Kincaid over the middle. That's the stuff we're waiting for here. We've got Mike Danger coming up.
Before we go,
what do you got?
If you had Younghoe Koo as the first to get cut this week, you're wrong.
Oh, Michael Bagley.
Yes, he was released by by the Colts, and the Steelers have parted ways with Darius Slay. All that going on while you were.
All that going on. Well, it's
Koo lives.
Yeah, it's a cruel business. It really is. All right, so we're on Younghoe Koo. Watch there for the Giants. Mike Danger will have his survive. He says it's his pool. He has picked a winner every week. But boy, oh boy, this is tough. I thought it was funny. He completely forgot about it last week. Put him on the spot. The look of terror on his face for Mr. Professional Mike Danger. We will talk to Danger here in a little bit. We'll talk to Amex head coach Mike Leone, Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, and RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas, all on the way today, along with terrible takes from Terrible Time Timmy. My name is Gene Battaglia. This is the Sports Bar on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the HD2 Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills are off today, and tomorrow is just going to be a walkthrough, trying to get everybody rested for Cincinnati here. Chris Brown today on One Bills Live talking about the Bengal run defense.
I just really wonder if a team like the Bengals, who throw the ball and feel comfortable doing so, would even consider trying to run a little bit more, knowing the Bills have, for most of the year, struggled to stop the run. They didn't last week. I wonder if they test that. I think they'll try to test it a little bit. I don't think it's going to be the bulk of their game plan.
Bills just now announcing a practice squad signing Andre Jones as a defensive end, originally a 7th-round pick of the Commanders. Elijah Moore, he's got a new home, signing with Denver's practice squad. Syracuse basketball tonight, hosting number 17 Tennessee. The Amherst back home tomorrow night against Utica. Mike Leone joins us later this hour. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Now, he's got his name first on the show. Mike Danger, Gene Battaglia, the sports bar. Mike Danger's actually late. Like, of all the guests I would expect today not to be late, it's Mike Danger.
Doing two jobs at once.
Well, okay, so here are the rules. What do we do? Because this is where people are tuning in. If you have been with us since week 1, you know that Mike Danger has picked a winner correctly every single week. And you should be using Danger as a resource. The question is, Tim, if Danger somehow doesn't come through, do I get to make the pick today?
A mulligan in Survivor. Man, I don't know.
I don't know. The people deserve this.
It does need to be made.
Well, in fairness, I know exactly what Danger's picking. I talked to him. We went over this. No suspense. Unless he's going to change his mind here.
Shift it on you.
Yeah, that could be it too. He was leaning clearly one way when we spoke last night. So Danger will be joining us here in a little bit. We've still got a lot of things coming up here in the show today. Hockey fan, you want to hear from Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, who, by the way, the Amherst get their team captain, Zach Metza. He's back in the fold. Although there seems to be some other injuries up in Buffalo as they're getting ready to head out on a road trip. It's bad for the Sabres, right? Well, no, actually, it's good for the Sabres. This is kind of a sad statement, though. You lose to Buffalo. Team meeting. Team meeting.
Things are happening, and it's not good if you're losing, getting smoked by the Buffalo Sabres. Comrie, though, that was not the reverse of a revenge game. I think everybody knew how to attack the backup goalie.
Yeah, to the point where I'm listening to the pregame, and Paul Hamilton's like, just go crash, get in front of him, get him off his game. It made it sound easy. I'm like, okay. Guess what? It was. He called it exactly the way it should be. We will be talking to our team men's hockey coach, Matt Thomas. The Tigers are fun this year. They are. Right now, though, coming off a weekend where they didn't win over in Ireland, but that's a great experience nonetheless. We'll talk to Matt Thomas, and we will also talk to Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, Bills Mafia member, or the co-host of the Sick podcast with Stevie Johnson. Fantasy-wise, seems like all my fantasy teams are in this, 7-6 kind of muck. I have one team that's doing well. How many leagues you in, Tim?
I'm in 5,
Wow.
and this year was going very, very, very well until about 4 days ago. Thanksgiving happened, and it ruined me. I went 0-5 this week for the first time, and I am feeling pain. I'm in first place, or was in first place in 3 leagues. No longer in first place in any of them, but there's
With
a whole lot of ball left.
Browns losing 2.
Oh, that's just normal.
that's 0-6. You were just kind of figuring on that too. We can react also to our conversation with Matt Perino, Syracuse Post Standard, where Matt, I do think, Tim, that you want to intentionally get a little violent. You need to get Josh Allen kind of involved. That just seemed like the second half that team kind of woke up and realized, you know what, we can do it this way. When you say that was a dominant game, it really ended up being just a dominant half.
Yeah, they dominated the second half. The first half was some of the most boring football I've watched this season. And it's not to say that the Bills are bad for it, but they should have probably come out running for 60 instead of 33 or whatever it ended up being. They looked okay. The second half was incredible, but the first half, a lot left to be. They were losing.
What's the ruling here, Tim? How long are we giving Mike Danger to get off his phone or whatever it is to call in and give us his win? Or do I take this over? You are the producer today. What is the right thing to do?
I'm going to say let's give him until about 4:15. That way, if he does call, we can't say, hey, you're late. I would hate to be able to say that to Mike Danger. That makes me uncomfortable. So I'm going to give him as much of a leash as I possibly can.
You're afraid of him.
No, I'm not afraid of him.
Yes, you are.
I just I don't like to be able to hold the power over the person in power. That makes me uncomfortable. There it is. See, look at that. I spoke it right into existence. Maybe. Yeah, we'll find out, I guess. But no, I'm not gonna do that to him. So
no, we were just debating, Danger. Like, how long do we give you? And Timmy's ruling was 4:15, and I was going to make the survive in advance pick, but you pulled it out. You rallied in the last second. I'd ask you how you are, but I know you're doing great because your Bears are right on top of the world, like we all predicted.
Oh yeah, everybody had that before the season started. Everybody had the Chicago Bears as the 1 seed in the NFC in the month of December. Totally predictable. That's the NFL. It's why we love it. Boys, how are you? Thanks for inviting me.
Well,
I apologize that I'm tardy and not there in person.
Miss you, buddy. We'll get to your pick here, survive in advance, here in just a second. But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about this Bills road win on Sunday, where they just took the manhood from Pittsburgh right away. But we're having trouble kind of balancing this where, yeah, that feels good, but is it more about the Bills or just, hey, the Steelers are really, really a mess where everybody chanting for the head coach to be fired there? What are your thoughts coming out of that game Sunday, Mike?
I think the Steelers aren't as bad as they look, and I don't think the Bills were as good as they look. And I feel this way almost week in and week out with teams in the NFL. It's a wave. It's a roller coaster. And would you be shocked if the Steelers had their best game of the season this weekend against the Ravens? I wouldn't be. And would you be shocked if the cries for Tomlin to get fired dim a little bit if they do that? I wouldn't be. Would you be surprised if the Bills, and the Bengals is a high-scoring affair where defense is at a premium? None of that would surprise me either, even though the Bills' defense looked absolutely shut down on Sunday against a vulnerable Steelers offense. So I loved it. I mean, I like that. Then the idea that that they just demoralized the defense by running the same play and they had no answer for it. With by the way, two of their star tackles, their two starting tackles, not in the game. Just impressive. And I think a formula for the Bills here is the weather starts to get colder as the postseason looms. You got to be able to run the football, and right now the Bills do it better than anybody in the NFL, which is reason for optimism.
Well, now that we're in December, too, I do think that game changed when you got Allen involved. The late hit that wasn't called, and then the jawing and get him with the mouth. Danger, I want to see, and I think there's good reason why you don't want to do this, but we're in December. You need these games. I want to see an engaged Josh Allen running the football, running his mouth a little bit, use his legs. That's an underutilized weapon in this Bills offense.
It's funny. I felt spoiled as somebody who's a fan of just physical offense. I watched the Bears manhandle the Eagles on Black Friday with two 100-yard rushers in the same game. First time since 1985, by the way, a game a 10-year-old me was at against the Detroit Lions. So I had some feelings, some stirrings on Friday. And to watch the Bills do almost the same thing. I mean, the way Ray Davis was running the football on Sunday led me to believe, like, hey, if the Bills want two 100-yard rushers in this game, they could probably have it with the way Davis – that physicality, it was – I think the most physical I've seen them in the run game since dating back to that Dallas game a couple of years ago, where they just absolutely snatched the soul out of the Dallas Cowboys in Orchard Park.
Well, Danger, let's give the people what they have been waiting for. And this has become your bit. You have guided us here to week 14, to the month of December. This is the first time since year one of the Sports Bar we have been alive in the month of December. Tim Schneider, please give us the music.
And Timmy will appreciate this, and I hope he's listening. A mutual friend, I would say, probably the greatest goaltender in the history of Rochester Men's League hockey, Bob Craig, is listening in. He messaged me earlier today, and I said, Bob, I'm off on location. I'm on assignment. I hope I have the opportunity to jump into the Sports Bar and share my pick, because let me tell you, this week, lots of divisional games. We don't want to break the rules, right, Gino? I mean, we've probably discussed all the rules already.
No, the rules are this. Yeah, we don't want to take. But now the problem is we're going to have to break rules here. Ideally, we don't want a road team. We don't want a divisional game. We want to look at Vegas, where we want to be taking a favorite more than 5. Most importantly, we're not trying to save anybody. No. Our only concern is to get to week 15. I don't care about saving something for week 16 or 17. Those are kind of the gist of it, but there's a bad team like the Jets on the menu, the Titans on the menu. Oh, well, the Jets aren't on the menu, but we want to attack those teams, Danger. And I'll also lay this out, too, that when we're going over the schedule, these are the teams you cannot choose by rule. Week 1, we took Denver. Week 2, we took Baltimore. Tampa Bay gave us a sweat, but they beat the Jets. Buffalo over the Saints. Can't choose the Bills. Detroit over Cincinnati. Green Bay over Cincinnati. We took your Bears. We took Kansas City. We took the Rams. We took the Colts. We took New England. We took the Seahawks. And then last week, Danger, as the Bills are playing the Steelers at 4:25, I look up at the other monitor at the tap room at Bill Gray's in China, like, oh, no. Oh, no. Justin Herbert is out. These are the types of things that can ruin your pool. But Trey Lance and the Chargers, Danger, they didn't let us down. We are on. I'm using we. You are on to week 14, so break it down for us because there aren't many choices, buddy.
All right, so let me also state the emotional hedge is very much in play at this point of the season. And the aforementioned Bobo, when he sent me the message, he said, you know what I might do? I might just take Cincinnati. That way, if they beat the Bills, Bob, we will not emotionally hedge. How would I be feeling today if I did what one of our callers suggested last week and emotionally hedged on the Bears and took the Eagles, a team that is still alive, a team that we can still select? If I would have taken the Eagles over the Bears and the Bears beating the Eagles, we'd be out. We wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Wouldn't be feeling good about it.
Hedgers are losers, Danger.
Hedgers are losers, and that includes the weak emotional hedge. We won't do it. Gino, I look at the list of games, and I see a lot of divisional matchups. I see a lot of teams that we've already selected that are in a good position to get another win in Week 14. And when I narrow it down and I look at our current circumstance here in Week 14, there's really only one team in one game that I have circled for this. And I could go through the exercise like I do every week. I could look at every Vegas line that's out there and tell you why this team – the reality is this is slim pickings. We're towards the end of the season. We're on the back half of this. And if you're still alive in your survivor pool, it's you and probably less than a dozen other players or less. So we've got to be smart. And I don't know that this is smart. I'm kind of plugging my nose. But given the circumstances and given who's in the sports bar all week, as I'm here doing good for our communities throughout America, I'm a man of the people, Gino. And for Terrible Take Timmy, I think this week's pick has to be the Cleveland Browns over the Tennessee Titans.
I think this might be where it comes to an end.
Oh, what are you doing? Did you get sick on the plane? You do, as you mentioned, you have Philadelphia. They're on the road, but we don't know about Justin Herbert. Would that give you pause if it's Trey Lance at quarterback? The Chargers, home underdog on Monday Night Football, always a little dangerous. The Eagles, a team that really needs a win. That was the one I'm thinking, How much pause did that give you? Or are we thinking the Eagles are a broken team right now?
I watched the Eagles on Friday. The Chargers are a better team than the Philadelphia Eagles, even with Trey Lance. Right now. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. The Tennessee Titans are an FCS program. That is not a pro football team. And the Cleveland Browns, Timmy, vouch for me on this.
I'll try real hard.
At least there's a good defense. At least there's a good defense.
There's a good defense in Cleveland. If they can figure out, if Shedeur figures it out this week, if this is his coming out party, you are riding easy. However, it hasn't looked that way so far.
What happens? All right, let me ask you this, Tim. What happens if Tennessee, by the way, 4.5-point underdogs, just a half point under that five-point threshold that we look for, Gino? Mm-hmm. What happens if Tennessee beats Cleveland in Cleveland on Sunday? I mean, does Cleveland burn? Does the city fall into Lake Erie? What happens? I don't know what happens.
The calls for Kevin Stefanski's head become probably unavoidable, and I don't really want to think about that outcome either.
There is one thing that's concerning, and if Vegas knows, this I was trying to look up, is this actually the lowest point total of the season? 33.5. 33.5. It's not the lowest all time is 28, Danger. 33.5. The thing that would scare me, and you're right about the Titans, they suck. However, you should Dorgan give the ball away, perhaps. You could get a special teams touchdown. You're going to be sweating on Sunday. Everybody's going to be sweating, but again,
unpopular opinion maybe for a Cleveland fan. I don't think Kevin Stefanski's a bad football coach. I think Stefanski's a good football coach. I really do. And I think he's in a real tough situation with a very dysfunctional organization, but they still have a good defense. Stefanski's a good offensive-minded head coach. And Tennessee is an absolute fraud. They're an absolute joke of an NFL team. They might be, when you really watch them, they might be the worst NFL team of all time. They don't look like an NFL team. Cleveland's not losing.
Okay, that's there you have it.
I will take it. I will take your word for it. I just know, as Browns fan, you are not going to enjoy that 3-hour window of needing them to win.
That's true. That we can say.
I will have my hand over my eyes, and I will peek from time to time between my fingers, and that will, like you do every Sunday when you watch the game, Tim. I'll be just like you guys.
Well, good
Welcome
luck to
aboard.
good luck to your Bears, who flexed the Bills out of which I'm fine with, by the way, and a lot of people are fine. 1:00.
That's America's team to Eugene. That's exactly where they belong. Obviously, the Bears are back. I want the season to end right now because I don't know that it gets better than you just knocked off the defending Super Bowl champs on Black Friday in a way that was.
And the coach taking his shirt off, for tacos or whatever.
Everybody ate hot dogs in the city of Chicago. What's not to love? I mean, this is a special season. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Well, safe travels back. We'll talk to you next week, Danger, and I guess we're all Browns fans. Pulling for you.
We're plugging our nose. We're going with the Cleveland Browns. We're advancing to Week 15. Book it now. You can thank me on Monday.
There we go.
I will thank you now. Thank you.
Mike Danger, everyone.
While that was happening, the Adam Thielen to Buffalo experience will not be taking place.
Oh, hit the breaking news.
I didn't know Adam Thielen was worthy of the sounder, but
all right, let's
really hit me. I didn't
don't tell me out of the gate.
Far.
Okay, is it a team that's in playoff contention?
Yes.
Is it a team that you could say has had some injury problems at wide receiver?
Not particularly.
Not particularly. Okay, so I'm thinking Tampa Bay would have been sort of a team that might have. Did he turn heel and go to the Packers?
He did not.
Okay. Give me one more hint.
They have already played the Buffalo Bills this season.
Ooh. Okay, He's going to Kansas City. No. Okay. Already played the Bills, playoff contender, Baltimore.
Getting closer.
Steelers?
Yes. Adam Thielen going to the contending
Oh,
Pittsburgh
guys.
Steelers.
That is typical because, Rodgers there, I can't get anybody to run a route properly on this team, and my nose is busted up. I want to make sure I put, a little Band-Aid on it so everybody knows my own nose is busted up. And I really need, I talk softly because I'm so intelligent, and Tim, you're not intelligent. I just got to say, all these idiots here, it's never my problem, just so you understand. So let's bring in Thielen and go make a trade for Devontae Adams. Aaron, the trade deadline. I don't care. Figure it out a way. Again, another bad impression.
That's okay. Adam Thielen to the Pittsburgh Steelers confirmed, claimed on waivers or whatever it was, signed. I don't even know how it works with somebody of that ilk, but he's going to he wanted to go to a contender, and he chose the Pittsburgh Steelers, so there's that.
Adios. Good luck to you, Adam. Enjoy. Head coach Mike Leone, Rochester Americans, coming off a really nice win over Syracuse. We'll talk to the coach coming up next here on the Fan Rochester.
update.
Bills are off today as they typically are on a Tuesday. A walkthrough only coming up tomorrow. Looking ahead to the Bengals, Steve Tasker optimistic on the Bills' health.
You would like to think the Bills are going to be significantly healthier coming into this game on Sunday. It's only Tuesday, and we don't know how these guys are going to go. Kincaid, Brown, Knox, Palmer, and Dawkins would help. Palmer is going to help. There's 4 guys on offense that would really help your passing game anyway.
Former Bill Elijah Moore signing today with Denver's practice squad. One note from around the league, Adam Thielen claimed off of waivers by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Rochester Americans coming off an exciting win over Syracuse. They're back home against Utica tomorrow night. Head coach Mike Leone joins us next. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
HL season's a grind, right? Guys going up, guys going down. Just a schedule that gets you all over the place. We're always happy to be joined by head coach Mike Leone again on a Tuesday. And Coach, you gave everybody a nice present. Your team did for Thanksgiving there. Your thoughts on winning that game, 14 seconds left. How are you today, Coach?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it was a big win for our group, especially, we weren't at our best. It was probably the worst game of the year that we played Wednesday night. And really good team, and guys dug in and found a way to win the game. I like the way we played. We probably gave them a few goals for sure, and you just can't do that, especially with the guys that we have out of lineup. But guys fought really hard and stayed with it, and made a couple of huge plays on the third goal, and then you're hoping at that time you just get to overtime, and we had a really good forechecking sequence, and great job by the guys to get the win.
Yeah, and now, certainly you want guys to be up in Buffalo and stay up in Buffalo. That's what they want too. But you do get your captain back, Metza, and just kind of the leadership there, and not only him, but Meyer. Just kind of things are looking up for you in that regard.
Yeah, no, it's good to get Metz back for sure. He's a huge part of our team. He's obviously our captain. He helps us get out of our zone. He's really good defensively. And we're just excited to get him back. He's been a really good player for us, and excited that he's with us.
Yeah, we're talking to head coach Mike Leone as the Amherst are they're back home coming up tomorrow night, Wednesday night. Utica, the opponent, and this is a team that, Coach, you look at the record. All right, they only have 2 wins in regulation. It's a team that really didn't do all that much last year. So, what are you looking for? What do you have to guard against overconfidence when you're facing an opponent like this?
Yeah, I think the guys know that's a team that probably should have close to 7 or 8 wins. I mean, if you look at all their underlying numbers, they're out chancing teams, they're out shooting teams. They're just been probably not capitalizing on their opportunities with scoring. Last game they go to Syracuse the night after we played them, out shooting 41 to 20 in Syracuse, which is really hard to do, and they're not finishing plays, but it's a good team, and just they have really good centers, and right now, if you look at our 4 centers that we have in our lineup, especially with Lecision being out, they're 4 guys that, if you look at our playoff roster last year, 4 guys that didn't play center for us. So right now, up the middle, it's going to be by committee, and we're going to have to really concentrate and play the right way, just especially when you don't have, with Noah and Dunner being up and Lecision being up, that's 3 huge pieces to the puzzle that are out. It's probably the most important position besides the D and goalie. So we're going to have to commit, to playing the game the right way and continue to do so for us to keep winning hockey games.
About your goaltending, you go back to a few weeks ago. It's a Wednesday night game, and You lose at home. Devin Levi gets pulled, and you had a quote post game, kind of sort of went viral there, and we're on to the next thing. But since that point, Coach, how has Devin responded? He got the win for you guys.
Yeah, Dev's been great. He's done a really good job for us. Probably could have another win for sure, but we needed him to be really good. Dev's been really good. He's responded the right way, which we knew he would, and he'll be back in the net Wednesday night.
You get a road trip. It might be, correct me if I'm wrong, the only time you actually get on a plane here in the regular season. Charlotte, the opponent, coming up for 2. Now, this is a team that certainly they're above 500, and they, the guys coming back, they're the defending Eastern Conference champions. So when you face a team like this that you don't see that often, what's kind of the plan going down to Charlotte this weekend, Coach?
Yeah, Charlotte's a really good team. They do a really good job. They just got Robbie Fabry to their lineup, who's played 500 NHL games. They do a great job of. They're older. They play you guys watch Florida play. They're really consistent with how Florida plays. They're relentless on the puck. They give you no time and space. They just played Toronto on the weekend. I think outshot them 89-42 on the weekend. Toronto's a pretty good team in our division. It's a really hard place to play, and you have to make sure you're ready to go and you're physically and mentally engaged because they're really good. They took Grand Rapids to overtime at home, and it was a pretty even game, 5-on-5. So we're going to play a really good hockey team on the weekend.
And, most Amherst fans are also Sabre fans, and you get a win last night. Now, granted, it's Comrie. You might know something, but the Sabres came out flying, and now they go on a really long road trip here, Coach. So kind of give us your thoughts here. Are we optimistic? Or is this team starting to turn the corner, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it was great to see the group play really well. Obviously, I'm watching Noah play. Obviously, he's really helped their team. He's really good away from the puck, and I think I think you ultimately find out who you are is when you go on the road. You look at all the teams that end up making the playoffs at the end of the year. Usually, they have a really good road record. So I think it's really important to get on the road because it's a different environment. You don't get to change. You don't get a lot of momentum off the home crowd. So you really have to play a consistent, hard game, and you got to stick with it with the group. And I do believe, with the pieces coming back, it's a huge piece. Like I said, when you have a player like Norris coming back, obviously he had a really good game last night. But now you're looking up the middle where you have everyone gets slotted in the right spot, which I think is extremely important when you're playing. At that level, and they looked really good last night. The D were really good. The goaltending was good. So hopefully they could build off of that. And on the road, it's not just the first game that you wanna. I'm not saying the first game's so important, but it really sets the tone for the rest of the road trip. So we always look at when we go on the road that it's imperative that you come out with the win on the road, the first one, and then you kind of build momentum after that.
Now Danger isn't in today. He grew up outside the area. He's a Chicago Bears fan. Your Lions, what is wrong? Coach, they're going to miss the playoffs if they don't wake up here.
Yeah, it's tough. I will say I don't necessarily agree with. I think it's really tough for the head coach to run the play calling and I don't think that's worked out great. The defense is really struggling. It's one game they play really good, and then another game they're giving up 500 yards to the Giants. So it's, time's ticking real fast. And then it looks like the Bears hired the right guy for sure.
Yeah. Well, you can take credit for that, I guess, in a roundabout way. Mike, thanks for your time. Really appreciate this, and good luck tomorrow night. We'll be listening to the call from Don Stevens against Utica.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans. The Amherst right now, this is, to use a Rick Gockin word, a schmozzle, the North Division, where you have Laval, 2 points ahead of Syracuse, 2 points ahead of Rochester, who's 2 points ahead of Belleville, who's 2 points ahead of Toronto. Tim? Check back in terms
it's a
of
mess.
yeah.
In 2 weeks, it might be completely flip-flop because everybody's within a game of one another. And the game discrepancy is crazy, too. Cleveland, you didn't mention, but they played 5 less games in the Amherst.
Yeah, why is that?
I do not know the answer
It's
to
like
that.
It might be just, arena availability?
Sharing with the Cavs maybe means that they have to wait until their season's.
That's why, as soon as they pick up a few games, I don't want to write them off. This is the one team you can write off.
Yes.
You can't, on a Wednesday night, too, where if you go into this, and look, I understand, people, they have jobs and they got to get up early on a Thursday morning, but there's something different on a Wednesday night game where you can go down there and, I personally like the vibes, but if you like the Amherst, go down and support them tomorrow night. This is a team you should win. You can't be falling into the trap, it's a Wednesday night, it's a team we should beat. No. You just go out, drop the hammer.
If they lose that game, that's not going to be a very good look. But they should not lose that game. They should win it 6-1. Utica averages less than 2 goals a game.
Now, in my opinion, Tim, okay, because I think the NHL, I think hockey does this, where, hey, this team is 7-9-4. Bull S. They're 7-13. The 4 are all losses. So within that spirit, no, the Utica Comets aren't 2-12-2-1. They are 2-15.
That's correct. They just got rewarded a little bit.
15 losses. Yes, they got a few loser points. Big deal.
Amherst tomorrow.
Right
here.
Right here.
And I will be blanketed up for it. I did not heat up.
If you're just tuning in, somehow our HVAC has gone haywire again. We noticed this yesterday. And then they put in a ticket, and the ticket said, problem solved. Oh, really? Come on down. Welcome to the High Falls Studios.
Test it for yourself. You will not. The temperature that you're reading is not accurate. In a freezer.
Heat. Your neighbors have it, and you can too. Anyhow, we have Michael F. Florio. We will get you set for, your fantasy football last week in the regular season for many. And it's brought to you in part by Heat and Cool. Who's hot and who's cold in fantasy football? Presented by Heat and Cool. That's cool with a K. Why, Tim? Because it's cool. Michael F. Florio coming up next here. Gene Battaglia, Tim Schneider here on The Fan.
On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan, Rochester.
Lucky to have this relationship with Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, who proud member also of Bills Mafia, co-host of the Sick podcast with Stevie Johnson. And Michael, before we get into the fantasy talk here, your thoughts on what we saw Sunday in Pittsburgh. Does that say more about Buffalo, that they could drop the hammer like that in the second half, or are we looking at Pittsburgh like, wow, this is all ending here? How are you today? I think we lost Michael. Michael, you're there.
It was a good run.
Sorry, unmuting the phone is a big part of this job.
I knew it. Like, oh, there we go. Like, let's start this over. We're lucky to have a relationship with Michael F. Florio, who's a true professional from the NFL Network who would never mute his phone. We love him because he's also a Bills Mafia member. Michael, how are you today? Was that game more about the Steelers or the Bills?
This is amazing. I think it's a little bit about both. I would say it's more about the Steelers because the fact that you're able to call the same play almost 30 times and you don't have an answer for it. The Steelers, I think they need a separation. Them and Mike Tomlin could both benefit from I think moving on in other directions. The thing about the Bills, and I've said this in recent weeks on this show, like their best punch could still beat anyone in the NFL. And when they're at their best, they're playing from ahead. They're able to impose their will with that O-line and their massive size that they have there. James Cook's able to do his thing. I still have questions if they're going to be able to get the receivers going because they didn't have to at all this week. But even more than what the Bills did this week, I feel really good about their chances, much better than I did a couple weeks ago because the Chiefs' backs are against the wall. The Ravens do not look like the same Ravens. Look, the Patriots, I get it. They're a big, fun story right now. They're not battle-tested. The Broncos, I think the Bills, at least it's a shot against them, right? Like, you have a good chance there. The Colts are starting to come back down to earth. So the AFC is as wide open as it's ever been in this Josh Allen era. So to me, I still feel really good. I feel a lot better than I did maybe 2 weeks ago about the Bills and their chances in the AFC.
It's funny. Now we look at the Bengals, and they were a punchline, one of the worst defenses of all time. Well, they haven't been bad on that side of the ball, but then it also helps that you have Joe Burrow now back, and all of a sudden, Mike, this looks like a dangerous situation for Buffalo, or is it? Give us kind of your overview here, what we should expect here in Bills Bengals.
It is a dangerous situation for the defense, I would say, and for the team in general. But I have good confidence that the Bills will be able to move the ball. This Bengals defense is one of, if not the worst in the NFL. Trey Hendrickson is not going to be out there. They struggled to get after the quarterback. They struggled mightily against the run. So that bodes really well. James Cook and Allen with his legs. To get Davis and Johnson involved, that should all help them. I think they can put up points against his defense. I don't worry about that. It would be a good opportunity maybe to try to get some of these receivers going. On the defensive side of it, though, I do worry because Burrow was back last week. Maybe wasn't 100% back to being himself, but now gets a full week and a half to get ready for this game, get that chemistry going again. Jamar Chase is going to be out there. T. Higgins likely going to be out there. That is one of the best 1-2 punches in football. But the player that I think scares me the most, it's always Jamar Chase, but how about Chase Brown as well? Because he is the last few weeks and really looking like himself what we expected coming into the year, running wide. And he is such a dangerous weapon as a receiver in the passing game. I think he had 7 or 8 targets last week. Mm-hmm. So to me, that is something the Bills defense is going to have to be up to the challenge. Can they get after Joe Burrow because they've struggled to create pressure as of late? Will they be able to slow down Chase Brown as a receiver and as a runner, and obviously the 2 big wide receivers? So look, they're coming off their best game of the year. This is a huge test for that Bills defense. But if they could slow down this offense, there's no offense that they will see in the playoffs that you don't think they could slow down as well.
We are talking to Michael F. Florio. He's joining us from Los Angeles, NFL Network. The fantasy questions here, and there are so many things now that for most leagues, Mike, this is it. You got to win, or you got to solidify your playoff, or even if you don't, right? Let's just kind of, before we get into some of these issues here, like the importance, Mike, of just keeping, playing to the end here. Nobody wants to be in a league where, I'm out of it. I'm going to forget to set a lineup here. And on top of that, and I think we reviewed this last year, but remind us, where do you come down? Say you're out of it. Should you still be claiming players or putting in bids at this point, even though we are, we're still in the regular season?
I think so. I think, look, when you pay your league fee or you sign up for the league, you're doing so for 14 weeks. Now, it's always I'll tweet it out next week. It'll get a lot of responses. I do think once the playoffs start, even if you have a consolation bracket, that's it, right? Like, the first run of waivers is for teams fighting for an actual championship, not your consolation prizes. But yeah, you should be fighting. You should be setting lineups because maybe your season is over, but I'm in double-digit leagues, and every single one of my leagues, not every single playoff spot is determined yet. Some of them, there's 4 or 5 teams fighting for one spot or something like that. So between other teams needing you to win and pride in general, you should. But also, like, I had a team. I'm in double-digit leagues. All of my teams have either made the playoffs or are still alive going into this weekend, except for one. I could tie for the final spot, but I don't have enough points to take it over. But I was 2-5 at one, or 2-7, I should say, at one point. And I've won the last 5 weeks, or 1-7. Yeah, sorry, my math's a little off right now. But I've won the last 5 weeks in a row, and now I'm 6-7, one game behind the final playoff spot. So even if I might not make it, when you look back at the end of the year, 7-7 looks a whole lot better than like 2 whatever. And yeah, maybe you can only win one league this week, but your league mates need you. If you're playing another last-place team, sure, maybe that one doesn't matter. But if you're playing someone that is in a fight for a playoff spot, you owe the league your right to set it.
So with that being said, few situations. Let's quiz you on Minnesota. What do you do with Justin Jefferson and some other premium products there that you paid a price for, but are we trusting anything out of Minnesota now?
So I wrote a lot about this in Start and Sit 'em, which is going to be out tomorrow. But if I have Justin Jefferson, which I actually don't on a lot of teams, I would still be starting him this week because of the matchup. The Commanders are 6th in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. They've really struggled against out-wide wide receivers. They've really struggled against downfield wide receivers. And on top of that, Jefferson, I know I keep saying it, he seems like a very obvious touchdown regression case. Maybe you can't bank on that this upcoming week, but I do think a squeaky wheel game is coming because he is clearly frustrated. He didn't talk to the media for the first time ever last week. So I think KOC would be really smart to early on try to get him going. I expect double-digit targets for him. And do what the Eagles did with A.J. Brown, right? The first drive, just throw him a couple of easy ones just to get him on the stat sheet, get him going, get him involved. I'm kind of expecting something like that. But even more than that, if they were playing the Texans or a hard matchup, I'd be like, yeah, stay away. But it's one of the best wide receiver matchups, so I'm willing to roll. Same thing with Emeka Egbuka. Like, I know a lot of people are frustrated with him and they want to get away from him. He's had the highest rate of uncatchable targets during this stretch of his. It's not his fault he's struggling. He's getting open. Baker has missed him on a number of throws. I'm going to trust the talent between these two in a favorable matchup. So against a team that has allowed a very high percentage of passes to out-wide wide receivers to be completed. So I'm still rolling the dice on guys like that, but someone like Brian Thomas Jr. or our guy Keon Coleman or someone like that who maybe you drafted a little bit with higher expectations, that you could get away from. But the superstars, I'm okay going down with Justin Jefferson in my lineup rather than sitting him for someone like Adonai Mitchell or someone like that, and it doesn't work out.
This is a tricky one because we get the report that, all right, it's trending after missing the last 7 games. Amari and Hampton on track here to play, but then – okay, number one, I mean, do we have any idea how much of a share he would get? But the thing that actually makes me nervous about this, Mike, is actually the timing. When you can't make that last second swap necessarily if you're because the Chargers playing here on Monday night against the Eagles. What are your thoughts there on the Chargers backfield situation?
Well, I'm hoping that we get like a Rappaport or Schefter tweet on like Saturday night that's like, hey, or maybe he's just completely off the practice report and Harbaugh announces like, hey, he's playing this week for sure, something like that. I'm hoping we have more clarity by Sunday. But even so, we will not know what the workload will look like. I expect him to be the lead back, but Kamani Vidal has played really well, and it could be a situation frustratingly, like what we saw in New England, where the first week back for the starter, it's more of a share or even a secondary role as they kind of build their way up. But Hampton, to me, is very option dependent. Like, I have one league where my running backs are weak. I've had a lot of injuries. I have him or a couple of other guys who have been streaming, like Chris Rodriguez is one. Like, I'll take the shot on Hampton there. But then I have another team where Hampton would be my RB2, and I'm playing Quinshaw Judkins over him there because I like the matchup. I know the workload is safer. I know the floor is safer. But it really comes down to your matchups because on top of it being a Monday night, it's also the Eagles who have been really tough against the run as of late, and that Chargers O-line is very banged up. So Hampton has RB1 upside, but I do think you have to treat him as a option-dependent RB2.
The AFC North is a mess right now, and the Bills, if they win, okay, they can just put no need to like have this run like what Cincinnati tried last year. We discussed the Steelers. What about the Ravens, who lost to Cincinnati on Thanksgiving? And to me, Lamar just does not look right. Steelers Ravens always has like a final score of like 11-8 or something like that. So, like, your thoughts here, like, Mike, are we trusting Lamar Jackson to figure this out? Because that certainly looked very, very poor Thursday.
Another peek behind the curtain. I have Lamar in stardom sit-em this week. I have him as a sit, but I went back and forth on this yesterday more than I have any call I've made this season because the upside for Lamar is he's just otherworldly good and wins in your week single-handedly. And his week last week, look, it was his worst EPA per dropback as a starter. Like, it was his worst game, you could argue, that he's ever played in the NFL, and it came against the worst defense in the league. But he had Isaiah Likely fumble that touchdown out of bounds. He had an OPI take another touchdown away with Zay Flowers. So could have been a little bit lucky, but I mean unlucky. But I agree with you. I don't think he is healthy. Since he's returned, he's averaging less than 20 rushing yards per game. And there's a number of runs watching him that I'm like, if Lamar of old turns that into like a 20-yard gain and instead it's going for 2 or something like that. So I agree. I don't think he's fully healthy. But it's, again, option dependent. Like, I'm playing Mahomes and Allen and Hurts and Burrow, Dak. I'd play Love and Goff over him. But I think like him and Jacoby Brissett is a conversation, which is crazy. But I'm not going to play one of the like streaming like Tyrod Taylor or Tua Tagovailoa over Lamar Jackson. So you have to have. I'd still play him over Herbert and Jaden Daniels as well if he suits up. You'd have to have one of the other better options this week to do it. But if you're in that situation, I think it's okay to get away from him.
Last one, Mike. Tonight being Tuesday, waiver wire night, and in one league, okay, and I know I can't rely on Amon-Ra St. Brown here for the Lions. I've got to look for a wide receiver. A.D. Mitchell, are we trusting that with the Jets? I mean, what other options, whether that's wide receiver, running back, or something else, we should target here tonight?
I do trust Well, trust is maybe not the right word. I think Adonai Mitchell is worth using as a flex or like a wide receiver 3 if you need to pick up a streaming option this week. Because last week he was targeted a lot and he hit big. The week before that, he had like the 3rd most air yards in the NFL that week. He is kind of like what Keyshawn Boutte is or what Alec Pierce, Quentin Johnson have been at periods this year. Like, the floor is low. You might get like 2-3 points. But the ceiling is he hits on one of those long ones and you end with like a 20-point day. So to me, if I'm going that deep, I want upside. It's kind of a preference thing, but if you don't have upside, I'm not really that interested. So he is one. I think Chris Rodriguez, who I mentioned, is another one. Mm-hmm. Tyrod Taylor, the drought ender, is in play this week. I think Tua is also a streaming option in that game. Just not a lot of great defenses. Devin Neal because the Bucks have allowed the most receiving yards to running backs. Jordan Mason, if Aaron Jones ends up being out, would be in play this week. I think you could stash like Chuba Hubbard and Devin Singletary, who had big weeks but are on bye this week. And then, look, if Christian Watson or Alec Pierce are out there, please, Jacoby Brissett as well, please change that. Like, they should not be. Mike Evans, check if he's out there. Chris Godwin's still not a super highly rostered. Isaac Tesla, because, like you said, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then lastly, Brenton Strange, Darren Waller are my top tight end targets this week. And the last bit of advice I'll give, if you've clinched already, like if you have nothing to play for in week 14, but you've been streaming defenses, pick up a defense for week 15 now. Like I'm picking up the Cowboys in a few. I know they play the Lions this week. I might get like a point or two out of them, but they get the Vikings next week. I've already clinched. That's what I care about.
Yeah. Great advice from Michael F. Florio, NFL Network. Tell everybody where they can get more of your content, particularly for our audience there, the Sick Podcast with you and Stevie Johnson.
Yeah, the Sick Podcast every Thursday live at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on my Twitter, Stevie's Twitter, and then out wherever you get your videos or podcasts. But, yeah, it's going to be a more fun episode this week, but we keep it honest on that, and we don't hold back. And then also the rest of the week on Insiders or NFL Fantasy Live on NFL Network, and then I also do some writing over at Rotoballer as well. So lots of places you can hear me talk about the Bills or fantasy football.
Mike, always appreciate the advice. Good luck to you as we head to the fantasy playoffs. Appreciate it, bud.
Thank you so much. You as well.
Thanks.
Go Bills.
I knew. Go Bills. There we go. We knew we had to, end that there. So go Bills. We are ridiculously late. We also have shots coming up. We have RIT Men's hockey coach Matt Thomas to join us. Mike Danger is off this week. Tim Schneider sitting in. Join us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326 here on the Fan Rochester.
This is The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester. WROC AM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester, sports update.
Bills will have a walkthrough only coming up on Wednesday. Looking ahead to the Bengals on Sunday. Chris Brown today on One Bills Live talking about that Bengal run defense. Or not.
I just really wonder if a team like the Bengals, who throw the ball and feel comfortable doing so, would even consider trying to run a little bit more, knowing the Bills have, for most of the year, struggled to stop the run. They didn't last week. I wonder if they test that. I think they'll try to test it a little bit. I don't think it's going to be the bulk of their game plan.
Former Bill Elijah Moore signing with Denver's practice squad today. One other note, Adam Thielen was actually claimed off of waivers today, the wide receiver, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Syracuse tonight, they get another ranked opponent taking on number 17 Tennessee at the Dome. Amherst tomorrow night taking on Utica. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome into Happy Hour. Danger's off this week. Terrible take / terrible time to be / closeted Buffalo Bills fan.
I can't go that far. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
You can't wear Bills gear and then Danger has some Bills gear, and admittedly, he's just admitted, like, yeah, I want the team to win. And there's nothing wrong with that, Tim.
That doesn't make me a fan. I want my friends to be happy, and it just happens to match my university, my alma mater's color scheme, so it just made sense, right?
It made sense.
I go to Bills games every once in a while. I got to fit in, right? I got to pretend to fit in.
You can call us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. We're on YouTube and Twitch. You can leave a comment there in the section. You can write to us on X, where, I'm kind of like Josh Allen. I just love getting under people's skin. As Brian from Hilton writing in, fraudulent from a Bills fan. You've won the worst division for 5 years and have zero to show for it with the MVP. The best days of this franchise is losing 4 Super Bowls in a row. Patriots will own the division going forward. Wild card bound. Okay.
That said, wild card bound potentially against the Broncos. As Broncos fan, you should be in danger.
Yeah, you're kind of over your skis there, Brian.
All true, however.
All true. Like if I said, who's the fraudulent team as compared to New England, you're proving my point. It's actually Denver. And the one thing I would take exception to, I am not a fan. I'm just an observer. I get passionate about it. Not a fan. You think I'd have pom-poms and wear your 17 jersey and do all that stuff? No, not at all. So Brian, appreciate you. You can write to us and think if one of our takes is crazy here at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Matt Thomas, he's the head coach for RIT. He'll be joining us here at the end of this hour. We've had quite the show. We had Mike Danger call in at 4 o'clock today. We're in the month of December. We're into Week 14, Survive and Advance, still live, and his pick for this week, I thought he was going to go with Philadelphia on the road, needing that one, potentially playing Trey Lance or Justin Herbert with a broken hand or whatever it is. No, the answer is he's going with Cleveland. And I understand this, Tim, from the standpoint that Tennessee, they are gross. There is nothing to like about that team. You can pick on the Titans, but it is the Browns. It is Shedeur Sanders. And the over-under is ridiculously low, 33.5. It's not all-time low. It might be the lowest this year. So anytime you get something that low, it's a missed field goal here. It's a special teams play there. It's a turnover there. And all of a sudden, wait a second, how did the Browns lose to the Titans this week?
You're destined for weird football, the Browns included, no matter what. I had a very good feeling that they would beat the Raiders, and they did. I have a decent feeling that they should be okay against the Titans, but again, like you said, that like one weird play could turn the game on its head, and a 17-3 lead becomes a 21-17 loss, and there's nothing to show for it. Actually, the Titans' only win was exactly that way. Like they were trailing by a ton to the Cardinals, and they found a way that actually ended your Survivor. Of all things. The Tennessee Titans could be responsible for ending the Sports Bar Survivor entirely, twice.
Wow. Danger didn't factor that in. That would be bad. That's cancelable. I don't want to get the show canceled there, Danger. Timmy, if that ends up happening. Other NFL story, we mentioned this in the update. So the story was Vikings are bad. I feel bad for Dan DeLorean. Talk about feeling bad for your friends. Like they're pointless. Their quarterback. That's the worst. Where you think, okay, maybe we have something here. Nope.
Moving off of their answer, actually, two of them, Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold, both having great seasons elsewhere, and they went with their chosen draft asset, who stinks.
He stinks, and they didn't have a plan B. You should have kept one of the two. They didn't. They bring in some other stiff this week. I don't even remember his name.
Max Brosmer.
Thank you. And you have one of the all-time greats in franchise history who, hey, he's from Minnesota. He's part of a good time. Like, he'll probably be honored, whatever version of Wall of Fame they have there, as I'm doing in my Minnesota accent. Adam Thielen says, actually, technically, it wasn't Adam Thielen. It was his agent asking for the release so he can go be with a contender, which I love this kind of sneaky new strategy. Brandon Cooks, that's how he ended up in Buffalo. And when Thielen does this, it's like, all right, it's the Bills receiving core that you just don't know. And when we had Nate Geary on yesterday, when we had Matt Perino on earlier today, our Bills expert said, okay, what do you think? Geary was more optimistic. He said, all right, look, you're not bringing him into the 53, but practice squad, sure, if he wants that. And then you get elevated. I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good plan to me. Perino, not so much into it. Well, then a half hour later, after we talked to Perino, we learned that Adam Thielen didn't clear waivers. Like, what? Pittsburgh claimed him. Pittsburgh. Oh, yeah. That's exactly the problem with the Steelers there. Yes.
How awesome would it have been if somebody like Cleveland, like he wants to go to a contender, and the waiving team or the claiming team just says, nah, you're coming to me. The Steelers kind of did that. I don't think he wants to go. They're in first place, but not really.
That's a good point you're making there. It's like, where's the line when it comes to this? And that would be bad business. Like, say it's the Jets. Like, all right, you know what? We need a wide receiver. Let's claim Adam Thielen. Like, why? Like, you're a team that's out of it. You should be trying young players. I think what the Jets are doing right now with the Sauce Gardner trade, that was a throw-in. A.D. Mitchell had two boneheaded plays in a loss to the Rams. Do you remember that? And they're like, okay,
I do.
Yeah.
It cost him, well, not the game,
but yeah.
It cost him his career there.
Yeah, and so, like, the Jets got him to throw it in, and okay, maybe there is something there. That just I'm crediting the Jets. I can't believe it. That was just kind of smart to ask for something like that. You're not claiming Adam Thielen if you're a team that's out of it, but does this say something about Steeler myopia? That, okay, you know what? We're still in this division, and that's the problem. I guarantee it's the old man lobbying. He did that with the Jets, like, the receivers we have here, they don't understand.
It is his birthday, so maybe that was their way to be like, they said happy birthday to him, and then they gave him a gift too.
You think Thielen, like, ring, ring, hey, or excuse me, that's an old way. Bzz, bzz. Hey, it's my agent. Hey, yeah. Adam, yeah, you didn't clear waivers. Somebody claimed. Oh, where am I going? Tampa? No. Buffalo? No. Pittsburgh.
There's got to be some back alley conversation there too. They reach out to him, like, "Hey, I know you want to go to a contender. Do you consider us a contender? Like, is that allowed? We'll claim you if you."
I would think. I don't think that has anything to do with tampering, right? If you're waived and you know you're waived, I think that's fair game.
Like, that would be in good faith, right? Yeah. Like, if they say, "Hey, like, I understand you want to go to a contender. Do you consider us a contender?"
Yeah.
Or, "Hey, we'll let you pass through and you can take your pick."
It's not, well, former Bills news. Well, the Bills did sign another practice squad.
A former Bill himself, actually. He was just cut a week ago.
Who was that? Andre Jones?
Andre Jones was on the practice squad until last Tuesday or something.
Okay, so yeah, he's back. Who's not back? Elijah Moore. So the Bills cut Elijah Moore, and I think it was one of those. Let me take a step back here. We all recognize that this receiving core not working top to bottom, right? And, all right, Curtis Samuel, huge mistake in terms of the dollars, not healthy. He goes away to Never Neverland called IR, okay? We probably won't see him again. Elijah Moore's still around. He's healthy, and the Bills caught him. And I don't think any Bills fan was upset. You have images of him getting a handoff and an end around that doesn't go anywhere. Did have one catch, but you need more. No pun intended. So the Bills release him. He gets signed today with Denver to their practice squad. But I guess it just kind of brings into focus, are we okay if this is it? I guess this is it, right? Meaning,
you have to make it work.
Yes, Shakir. And then you get Kincaid back healthy, and you got to consider him part of the mix.
And Josh Palmer too, if he's
Josh
available.
Palmer too. And then we're working our way down here because
the names are nice, but
Shavers has filled in partly on the Mac Hollins role, meaning vicious blocker. The Bills want to have that attitude on the outside, and as a special teamer. But in terms of receiving outside of the one game against the Buccaneers, all right, maybe Shavers will pop at some point. He's not quite there. It begs the question, though, like, what do the Bills do here when Palmer is healthy? And we pose that question to Matt Perino. And you would think, my gosh, is Keon Coleman the odd man out? But you saw him drop an easy slant pattern. Well, last two games, Keon Coleman actually has caught touchdown passes, and that has to count for something. Matt's take was this, is that, and if you kind of lump this in together with Terrell Bernard, make sure these guys are fully healthy. Give them an extra week. Legitimately, is Josh Palmer going to be the reason the Bills beat or lose to the Bengals? The answer is no. But when we get to the playoffs, you're going to need him to make a play. Same thing here. Like, you look at the linebacker position, and I think most of us would say in the moment right now, oh, my gosh, Shaq Thompson light years away ahead of Terrell Bernard. I don't want to see Bernard. Yes, you would. You need Terrell Bernard to get healthy. That's been the problem between the ankle and upper body and everything else. And Matt's take is like, yeah, Shaq Thompson, he might break at some point too. Like, if Bernard is close, give him an extra week here. So, Tim, it's not necessarily load management. It's just you're trying to choose whoever's going to help you win now. But the byproduct of that is, like, these guys might actually be healthier when you need them most here.
With health comes effectiveness, and you need to be able to be healthy to be out on the field. Like, if you're not available, you are useless, essentially, for the exercise here. Shaq Thompson at 100% is better than Bernard at 75% or whatever he might be. So you ride that until you get to the point where 90% is better than 100% of somebody else. So yeah, you don't want to throw them back out there, take reps away from somebody else who in that spot, in that moment, is more effective. Of course, long-term, long scheme, you want the better player out there at all times, but when the health is a factor, it changes things. You ride the guy until you can no longer do that, and then you hand the baton back off. And it's worked so far on the linebacker side. They're still shuffling on the receiver end.
Brian pointing out this argument I'm having on X there. Am I a Bills fan, not a Bills fan? Gene, you named your dog Beasley. No, the kids named the dog Beasley. All right, that's... If it was a boy, it would be Beasley, and if it was a girl, it was going to be Dolly. And we ended up getting a male schnoodle. As it was. But Brian, boy, that I haven't talked about Beasley in a long. We have the loudest, most the Schnauzer breed, Tim. It's like, and here's the problem: like, our neighbors, great people. They're retired and they're moving closer to family, and he was kind of hard of hearing, so it really wasn't an issue. But I'm worried about whoever moves in next to us with our loud dog at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, oh no, we're going to have to change all our behavior because you can't be barking at squirrel and leaf and wind and everything else. That
good, cordial neighbors change the entire scope of this. Like, humanity. Like, you can do whatever you want with good neighbors, and it's fine. But if you get the grouchy neighbor who says, like, shut that dog up, it like ruins your life.
Well, and I got to be respectful too, because we're gonna have to keep literally and figuratively a tight leash on the dog here, because all right, do you really need to go out, or are you just bored here? Okay, we're gonna go out and we're gonna come back in. We need to
terrorize the neighbors, make as much noise as possible, then get back inside.
We got shots coming up. We'll also talk to RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas. Tim Schneider in today. That's the voice you're hearing for Danger. I'm Gene Battaglia here on The Fan.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills will have a walkthrough tomorrow. Cincinnati, Buffalo favored by 5.5 points over the Bengals. Steve Tasker today on One Bills Live talking about the Bills' health.
You would like to think the Bills are going to be significantly healthier coming into this game on Sunday. It's only Tuesday, and we don't know how these guys are going to go. Kincaid, Brown, Knox, Palmer, and Dawkins would help. Palmer is going to help. There's 4 guys on offense that would really help your passing game anyway.
Former Bill Elijah Moore today has a new home. He signs with Denver's practice squad. Adam Thielen didn't clear waivers. He was claimed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Syracuse Orange tonight at the Dome taking on number 17 Tennessee. The Hammocks are back home tomorrow night taking on Utica. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Got a smart speaker at home? Listen to the sports leader, The Fan Rochester at home, by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
I'm not going to hit the breaking news sounder here, Tim, but did you see this? Pelican star Zion Williamson will miss extended time with a right abductor injury. He will be reevaluated in 3 weeks.
I did see that, and the thing about it is it's not breaking news. It was just a matter of time. That guy is the least healthy. like we feel bad about Greg Oden. I don't feel bad about Zion. Like, that's just mismanagement of your own body. Figure it out. Take care of yourself.
Like the Pelicans could have moved off of this guy like long ago, and you want to talk about a team, no hope. If you're not up on your NBA, they have the worst record in the league at 3-18. So brutal. When Danger goes down there to New Orleans, that's one of his markets there. I'm sure they'll have some thoughts on that. Welcome, Shots here in the Sports Bar. Some of the things we did not get to. We'll also talk some RIT hockey coming up later this hour with Matt Thomas. There were Yankee fans who were bitter, Yankee fans who still are bitter, Tim. The Juan Soto, how dare you leave us for the Mets? Okay, well, we have another Yankee leaving for Queens. But the attitude here, I think rightfully so, is, yeah, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Failed closer Devin Williams gets 3 years, $51 million. This basically is an insurance policy in case the Mets do not resign Edwin Diaz. Diaz is a free agent. Williams, last year with the Yankees, bad. 4.79 ERA in the Bronx. But, I mean, the advanced metrics say it wasn't all that bad, but I go back to his final game in Milwaukee, giving up that homer to Pete Alonso. I just don't know if this guy is ever going to find it again.
Closers are a fickle beast, and I think it makes it real tough for the Mets to now rationalize to give all that money to Diaz now, too. Diaz is going to command more than that, in theory, right?
You know where Diaz is ending up.
Probably.
Yeah, he's going to be a Dodger. But that's the one thing, the Dodgers sucked at last year. They didn't really have a bullpen. And if they get a guy that, okay, then just make it 3 in a row for LA at that point, assuming Diaz is healthy. I don't want that to happen.
They gave him $50 million. Did you see how it broke down? I don't want to dive too deep into it because it would take forever. But they come off the Bonilla deal sometime soon.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically that again. He doesn't get paid for 8 years after he retires.
Wow.
So that'll be fun.
Well, and it's also, I don't know where we're going with the cap and where all this nonsense is going, so that's also part of this too. It's bad, Tim. You lose to Buffalo. There's only one thing you do. You need to call a players-only meeting right then and there after the loss. Nobody in the Winnipeg locker room. Jets, they failed last night. No show. 5-1 loss. Maybe, here's an idea, don't start Eric Comrie. The Sabres knew exactly how to get to their former teammate quickly. Josh Norris, welcome back at 2 goals and an assist. Buffalo begins a 6-game road trip on Wednesday. First stop is in Philadelphia. And, Tim, this is it, all right? If this team goes on the road, away from the noise, going into different situations, and they come out of this with 4 of 6 wins, then I'll start believing. But if they come back and, they're 1-5 or worse than that, it's all right. Okay, when are we picking in the lottery then again?
It's going to take a lot more than 4 to 6 games for me to dive back in, but yesterday was pleasant, and I hope it continues to stay as such during this little road trip. They're going to be away for a while. They need to be successful almost that entire time just to get back into the mix. They're they're 6 points out of the playoffs already, which is not a lot, but it is a lot when you're the Buffalo Sabres and haven't done anything in 15 years.
I'm not sure how to feel about this. I'll give you the story, and then I'll tell you my thoughts. Could we be seeing a comeback here in sports? The sport is tennis. Serena Williams hasn't played since the U.S. Open in 2022. She's now 44. Serena taking the first step. You have to register, apparently, for the governing body to begin the drug testing policy and whatever. Players have to be in this pool for 6 months before they're even eligible to return to play. So she did that, and this gives her the option. Maybe she drew some inspiration from Venus, her sister, making it to the third round of the 2025 U.S. Open after just getting the wild card invite. Here's where I'm at, Tim. I am not one. It's your life. You want to compete, go out there and compete. Do what you want to do. But I don't want to see Serena out there floundering and just being bounced in the first round as a wild card by nobody at the U.S. Open.
Wizards Michael Jordan, that's what it feels like for me. He was competitive, he was good, he was still better than a lot, but it's not what we know him as.
It's funny, like Wizards Michael Jordan still went to the Garden and shoved it up the Knicks. You know what?
Yeah.
That game, like, oh my gosh, even this guy with there, you can have the one shining moment for Jordan. Franco Thomas is a Seahawk, Franco Harris is a Seahawk. I mean, it's like there's a lot of.
I'm pretty confident that she could probably come back and be a top 20 player almost immediately. It wouldn't be the same, though, as the number one dominant for a decade person that we
I would say at the U.S. Open, it didn't look quite right. Everybody was pulling for it at the end, and it's like, no. Like, they are physical, and they hit hard, and it's just.
She did say she wasn't coming back, though, so I don't know why she would subject herself to this.
Well, right, so, like, that's why I don't know. It's like is this a trial balloon? Is she just wants to go play in some exhibitions? There is another possibility, too, here. She just might want to play doubles with her sister. Which, of all the sports, like, that's one where, like, you have the singles, and it's like, oh, my gosh, you have this other thing called doubles.
Dominate into your 40s in a sport where people are mostly their best at 19? That would be pretty impressive.
So maybe I'd be on board with that. I am on board with this. Charles Barkley and Dick Vitale are going to pair up to call 2 basketball games this college season. One coming up in the regular season, and they're going to do an NCAA tournament play-in game on True TV or whatever the network is. Well, the first one coming up here, December 13th, number 18 Kentucky hosting number 22 Indiana. I think I just want to hear Chuck blast ESPN and mock it.
I would sign up for anything Charles Barkley does. It won't be the same as Bill Walton, but I can get behind some just absolute crazy. Like, Bill Walton was a great player, so was Charles Barkley. Mm-hmm. They are not actually like color commentators. Barkley's a great analyst because he's funny. I can't imagine how it's going to go calling a game with Dick Vitale, but I want to see it and I will enjoy it.
Does this happen to you, Tim? Like, sometimes I forget, like, guys pass and like, hey, Walton, we lost Bill Walton. What the heck?
We did. This is a replacement's not the proper word, but this is a nice replacement to what we got out of him when he was doing these games.
Yeah, I mean, at least, I want more Charles Barkley in my life.
Yeah.
That's where, like, to me, the 9 o'clock news talkie show, they're so divided. Get me, like, some network should just convince him, hand him a pile of money. The Charles Barkley Show, where he's not talking about sports, just have him talk about everything. I don't want Stephen A. I want Chuck.
2 hours of whatever Charles wants, and I will ingest it all.
But I think the issue is Charles loves his life. He doesn't want to be dealing with all that. He wants to go play golf and
you let him and Shaq go rain-free. Like, the 4-person panel is awesome, but just the 2 of them, put them in a room for 2 hours and see what happens, and I would watch all 2 hours of that without a doubt in my mind.
Well, so with that being said, I mean, we all love Vitale, but how does that kind of work? Is Vitale going to give Chuck the rope there?
That actually is a very good point, because as producer, I bet that would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, nightmare.
But as a consumer of the product, I don't think I could get enough of it.
Well, they're going to get me to tune in. When is the 13th? That's a Saturday. So, finally, this from the Giant game last night. There's a lot not to like about the Giants, right? The kicker, did he get cut yet?
No, he didn't.
No, okay, so he's still on the team.
Probably got ice on his foot.
Yeah, like the quarterback, and they were playing this on Maggie and Perloff this morning. For Jackson Dart to go to the, for folks who don't know the way I played the game, I played this way since high school. Shut up, high school. Please. Like you need to alter a game. These are men, and you bring up high school. Like what Kyler Murray brought up high school to him. Like, no, stop, don't do that. He's going to get himself killed.
High school for Dart was 5 years ago.
6.
Fine, still.
Finally, that was just a mess. And you also had this story. Like, wait a second. Abdul Carter, again, being disciplined. We talk about Keon Coleman. The Giants, for some reason, didn't play him out there for the first quarter. I don't know. Was it a team meeting? What was it? It's a guy who had the number 3 overall pick out of Penn State. Wesley Steinberg reporting that Carter was watching an adult film during a team meeting. Except Wesley Steinberg is just a troll account. And many people, Tim, believed it, including you, if you're only half listening to me right now. Not real.
Yep. Well, the thing is, I saw it. A couple of my friends shared it, and at first it was like, okay, that's obviously fake. And then you look at the tweets, and it's obviously fake. But then he's actually suspended. It's like, oh my God, there might be there's a pathway for this to be real. And I rode that for the whole first half.
So that came out before the game.
We were here. It was on, but I didn't bring it up because it was obviously
it's
fake.
Obviously fake.
But
yeah.
then he was suspended. Like, he did not play. And it's like, oh my God, is there a way that, because it wasn't announced anywhere that he was suspended.
Well, see, so with some of these AI things, when you had you're a Bonnie fan, right? The Woj getting into a fist fight with officials, or being ejected from the game there, and it looked like a legit college basketball reporter, but that was just a total fictitious. We're in a dangerous spot here.
You can buy the check mark now and make anybody think anything is real. So be very vigilant with even if it looks real, it probably isn't.
Yeah. Thanks, Elon. Appreciate that. We got to talk some hockey.
Yeah.
Back from Ireland, Matt Thomas, RIT men's hockey coach. On the other side here, it is Battaglia and Schneider today here on the Fan.
Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Just one home game for RIT men's hockey before we get to the end of the calendar year, and that's coming up Friday night. Canisius. Tim, like, that's the one team. Some might say Niagara. That's the one team, like, I think, because go back to the days of the Ritter, always a little bit of bad blood, but fun start to the home and home. And back from a trip to Ireland as head coach, Matt Thomas. Matt, appreciate the time today and the whole experience of going over to Ireland. How was it for you and your team?
You know what? It was awesome. It was awesome. It was a really cool experience. Obviously, we didn't get the results we wanted there, but I thought we played pretty well other than the first period of the first game. Just having a little trouble scoring right now as a group, but those ebbs and flows come with any season. So, but what an experience. We saw some pretty cool stuff. I'll tell you what, the people of Ireland are great people and a pretty unique way of life for them over there.
When did you get back? I've never gone to Ireland, and haven't even gone to Europe for that matter. What is the adjustment coming back now here, and with jet lag and whatnot? How's practice been so far here this week?
Yeah, it was good. We gave the guys Monday off. We'll give them an optional day tomorrow. Today we had a good work day, but it was, you know what, when you come back, you gain all the hours. Outside of it being a long travel day back, like technically we left at 1:30 a.m. Eastern time and didn't get back to campus until just around 10 p.m. So it was like a full 20-hour or close to a day. So long, but not bad. A little bit more of a challenge when you go over and you lose all the time, right? And then trying to get onto their time. That took a couple days for sure. But surprisingly, feel pretty good other than the fact we've been on the road for 2 weeks. So really looking forward to Friday and being in our own building for another game. Yeah.
So you mentioned the ebbs and flows. Tigers win 9 straight. You get a point in Atlantic hockey. You get taken Niagara to overtime. A game that's close against Bentley does not go your way. And as you mentioned, goals kind of at a premium. So I guess my question is it just kind of puck luck, or is it something else? What's happening here in this stretch here where the puck is just not going in the net for your team here, Coach?
Well, it's I would say a little bit of puck luck, but not enough for it to be a concern. We're getting chances. I think you're always concerned about your offense when your offense isn't creating. We're creating plenty. Our execution and finish is a little bit subpar right now. But what happens is, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's an excuse because it's not, but when you're a team that goes out and was kind of billed as a team that wouldn't be able to score, and we score as much as we did, and especially over that 9-game winning streak, guys get a little comfortable and a little bit, hey, look at me, I'm going to play on the outside and make these high-end plays. And they got to kind of reframe their brains of why we were scoring, and it was because we were doing a lot of the gritty, hard, not so sexy stuff to create the offense, and we've kind of got a little bit away from it. And not that we've totally gotten away from it. It's just it's more inconsistent right now. So some things that we've been harping on, and we'll get better. But I think the number one thing is the guys feel the pressure to continue to score at the rate we were. And maybe a little bit, we were for a fact scoring above expectation. So we're kind of right around where we are, and the guys, they just want to score, and they're trying a little bit. We're a little too fine right now. Everyone's trying to pick that corner instead of maybe a little bit more volume and quantity to the net.
It's kind of a fun debate for Tiger fans. Like, who is the conference opponent you really don't like the most? You really want to say, and somebody say Canisius, others Niagara, Air Force for all those years. You met them in the playoffs before you got here, Coach. You played on RIT when they were in the Division III. Who was that team when you were a player that, man, we cannot lose to this conference opponent?
Well, it was those teams that you already mentioned. It was Mercyhurst, Canisius, Niagara, and Elmira. that was kind of the five of us. And not to put down Hobart, because what Mark Taylor's doing there is unbelievable with the success that Hobart has had at the Division III level still. But it was there, so it kind of switched a little bit. Early on, it was kind of Mercyhurst. Canisius was always a bugger for us. And then Niagara's program came in, and obviously they went in and they were Division I to start, right? So they were getting guys in on scholarships, and they were a tough opponent within the ECAC back then. But hey, I hate them all. I hate them all. Full disclosure, I'm okay admitting it. When they come into our building, we go into their building. We want to beat them, and we want to compete hard against them, and we're okay admitting that we're not fans of any of them.
Yeah, Friday night, back to conference play. How's the health of the team, Coach, coming back from Ireland here?
Yeah, just illness more than anything. We had some guys kind of battle some stuff while we were over there. I think anytime you get put in that little, box of, the plane, it just seems to always happen, right? So got a few guys battling some stuff since we've come back. A couple guys had to miss today, but for the most part, everyone's healthy. We're still down. We have no Christopoulos. He's got an injury that's going to keep him out. But everyone else is feeling pretty good outside of a little bit of illness.
Did you have a traditional Thanksgiving over there? Were you what was that whole experience like when you're overseas for a holiday, Coach?
Well, it was awesome, right? So we did Dublin the first day. That's where the big Guinness store is, and the whole history of that. What a town. Everybody's out, people singing in the streets. Just a really cool vibe. Then we did the Game of Thrones tour. We played in the Gaelic games, which they got two sports over there that are, I think they're only played there. Hurling, which is probably the birth of hockey, lacrosse, and field hockey all in one. It's a pretty gnarly sport. We got to do that, and then played Gaelic football, which is soccer. It's kind of like, I think, the birth of kind of rugby, to be honest. Rugby and soccer, where it's a little bit of a combination of the two. We did that one day, which was awesome, and then we did some, guys had the opportunity to go do the Titanic, to do what they call a black cab tour to talk about, the unrest and the history of the, Northern Ireland and the English, and so some really cool historical pieces. And then we did a Thursday banquet with all the fans that traveled over, all the parents that traveled over, our team and administrators that went. We had a really nice night in our hotel, which we stayed in the Europa Hotel, which, fun fact, bombed the most times of any other hotel. 28 times it was bombed during the unrest of Northern Ireland. So some really cool history. Good news is we didn't get bombed, and it's that kind of stuff is far behind, but it's nuts. I think it's been 26 years since it was really kind of this borderline war zone between people in the city of Belfast, and so it's what a neat town. Like 8 a.m. to midnight, the streets are packed with people walking around. They're already celebrating Christmas. I think they just celebrate all year round. I think they just extend every holiday. But it was such a neat experience for our guys. The arena and the tournament organizers, what they put on, the crowd. It was a lot of fun. We got to go to a school and do some hockey demonstration, and the kids were awesome. They, they're all wearing their little school uniforms there, and it was just a really neat experience for our guys.
Matt, that's great. I'm kind of jealous now. Now I got to go over and make a plan. So Matt,
you have to. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
We will see you tomorrow night, Friday night. Canisius coming up 7:05. Puck drop at the Policini. Be well and go get them.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks a ton.
Thanks, Matt. Matt Thomas, our guest here in the Sports Bar. How's
that for timing?
because you're the executive producer here of the show, Tim. It's Tim Schneider running the board today. We're back at it tomorrow on the show, where it's been a minute since we talked to PJ Glasser. He also sent it in on the BetMGM network. We'll also get the Cincy side of things. We always go to Anthony Cosenza from SB Nation in the Cincy Jungle. He'll join us tomorrow. Unbelievable show today. Matt Perino, Michael F. Florio, Mike Leone, Mike Danger, and Matt Thomas. Miss any of it? Download the Odyssey app. You can go back and listen up to 72 hours for free. Coming up, it's the JR Sport Brief. And, my gosh, catch our breath there. Thank you to Matt Thomas. Thank you to everybody for listening here today. For Tim Schneider, my name is Gene Battaglia, and you are listening to the Sports Bar here on The Fan Rochester. Have a good night.
You're listening